Yo, what is up, folks? Welcome back to another podcast. Took a hiatus last week, but we have returned. Hope everyone is doing well. And as always, if you've been around on this live stream before, you know how this works. I'm going to let the people know that we are live real quick, and we shall begin answering questions, folks. You guys asked many great questions, which I appreciate. And if you would like your questions answered in the future in depth, make sure to ask them pre-live stream, because I actually do look into your questions and try to come up with the best possible answer I can. So if you guys would like that, then of course leave your questions below in the comments here or on my Discord if you haven't joined already. That's in the description as well. Alright, let the people know we are live real quick. Alright, and I would also like to thank you guys. What's going on, Kedrick? Thanks for coming in. I'd like to thank you guys for getting our last podcast to over 30 likes. And make sure to hit the, where is it at? The like button on this one as well. Let's try to get as many likes as possible. It gets us up in the algorithm. It gets more people coming into these live streams, and it gets more eyeballs on the live streams as well. So thanks for all the likes, folks, on the last one. Let's get this one to 30 plus likes as well. So make sure to hit the like button, folks. Alright, and of course if you're new, make sure to hit the sub button if you haven't already. What's going on, Sean? What's going on, Phantom Redbeard? Thanks for coming in, folks. Let's begin answering these questions. If you see me coughing and stuff, it's because I was yelling during a UFC event earlier today. So, my throat is shot, but I have to do what I have to do for you folks, because I mess with you folks. So, let's begin with the questions. A lot of good ones, by the way. A lot of anime and IRL as well. So, first one that was asked. Who wins between Sasuke and Kakashi? Alright, so let's answer this one. So clearly this matchup is fairly easy to assess if we pick the right matchups, right? Clearly Part 1 Kakashi beats Part 1 Sasuke, and clearly Prime Adult Sasuke beats basically any version of Kakashi, with only DMS Kakashi being the contentious one. Clearly, right? But let's make this interesting. So I believe one of the most interesting discussions would be War Arc Kakashi versus 5 Kage Summit Sasuke. Alright, so that's an interesting one to try and analyze and deduce who would win, right? So War Kakashi is able to successfully react and combat version 2 Jinchurikis, which allows us to get an idea of his speed, right? And now 5 Kage Summit Sasuke was able to react to the 4th Rate Kage and nearly stalemate him. So that gives you an idea of 5 Kage Summit Sasuke speed as well. However, I would give the speed nod to Sasuke because he was able to at least fire his synapses, in time to engulf his Susanoo ribcage in Amaterasu before the Rate Kage could strike him in his version 2 speed cloak or lightning cloak. So that's him basically going at full speed, using his his combat speed to the fullest extent. He was able to engulf his ribcage in Amaterasu before version 2 lightning cloak Rate Kage could hit him, right? That goes to show you how fast his reaction times are. Now, the reason I would give him the nod is because clearly the Rate Kage is faster than Killer Bee. He is heralded as the fastest shinobi on Earth, right, after Minato death, and up until Naruto KCM1 emerged, right? So he was the fastest. And we can deduce that it seems linear. There's a linear trend as far as the number of tails the tailed beast has, right? So Naruto is the epitome of a Jinchuriki, right? Before that it was Killer Bee, hence he's above all the other Jinchurikis that Kakashi was reacting to during the War Arc. Hence the Rate Kage scales above those Jinchurikis, meaning Sasuke's speed scales above that of Kakashi. Now, to what degree? It's hard to quantify that, right? It's almost impossible to do so. There are many, many variables. It's a multivariate equation when you're trying to exactly, concretely quantify the difference in speed there. But this is what I would say. I would rationally deduce that 5 Kage Summit Sasuke would be able to utilize his hacks, right? And because he fires his synapses quicker, I would say he would successfully be able to use one of his hacks abilities before Kakashi could use something like Kamui, right? That's how it most likely would go in the balance of probabilities. If the gap is vast enough, then he might be able to catch Kakashi using Susanoo Flame Control or Amaterasu or one of his Genjutsu, possibly. We don't know how exactly Sharingan users that try to Genjutsu each other exactly works, but that's a possibility as well. So yeah, in the balance of probabilities, I have Sasuke winning because of the empirical evidence provided. So that would be my conclusion to that. Again, it is contentious as well, but yeah. By the way, folks, for you guys that just came in, make sure to hit the like button, right? I want to thank you guys once again for getting the last stream to over 30 plus likes. Appreciate that, folks. That's a W. So make sure to hit the like button on this one. All right. Amaterasu is based off the goddess for the sun in Japanese mythology, and I believe Amaterasu literally is hot as the sun. What does that say for the durability of the earth Naruto lives in? It's a good question. Because that is the case, clearly in the real world, the temperature of the sun would literally melt not only us, but the earth down to its very core, the very mantle, the very physical properties and chemical properties that make up the mantle, the core, the sedimental layers of the earth would melt because of the very temperature. So that would mean that Naruto's earth is far more durable than our own, if we look at it rationally, right? Maybe that's not Kishimoto's intention. That's not something he's like, oh, let's make sure the earth is more durable than our own. That's not one of his intentions. But because Amaterasu is out as the sun, we can only rationally deduce that, right? So that's a good question, though. I never even thought of that. Would you ever do a collab with Seth Swagger 6? Absolutely. I absolutely would. I'm a fan of all of them. I've debated one of them. And I believe they all know of me to some extent. So I appreciate that. Shout out to them as well. They're all goats. And yeah, I definitely would. So, all right. So the next one, right? Question that you asked is a very good one. Hanzo versus Sakumo. So I've thought of this matchup for quite some time. Not just today, but in general. And this is what I've come up with. So what makes this matchup interesting and considerably contentious is that you can rationally deduce, right, that both opponents are significantly superior to the Sannin in their prime, right, considering Hanzo mercifully spared their lives during the Second Great Ninja War, and Sakumo being stated as an individual who the Sannin pale in comparison to, right? So we have these empirical pieces of evidence here. But I would actually lean towards Hanzo now, and here's why. So analyzing rationally what is known about both, the only seemingly empirical piece of evidence that suggests Hanzo superior is the fact that his name seems to be more well known. Now, of course, we can't prove this, right? We only can go based off what the empirical evidence provides, but it seems his name is more well known across the shinobi world. I might be mistaken, right? We did see Chiyo, who was clearly aware of the White Fang. I mean, she fucking hated him. So you could counter it, but it seems on the balance of probabilities, if you were to ask any random person in the shinobi world about Sakumo and Hanzo, they would probably know Hanzo more. Again, that's not provable, but this is my train of thought from the empirical evidence provided. Because of this, it seems that he's possibly superior, right? He's more respected, more well-known, more renowned, world-renowned, I would argue. And this implication, as well as the fact that on a balance of probabilities, feats outweigh statements, leads me to rationally deduce that there is more evidence, at least, you could say safely, that would suggest that Hanzo is superior. Right, so that would be my argument for why Hanzo most likely will win. But to counter my own argument, you could say, well, Minato is a prodigy, and he holds Sakumo in this regard, saying that he pales in comparison to the Sannin. Minato is a prodigy, right, who's above that as a Sannin as well. So you could counter me and say that, which is fine. But again, it's all contentious, and again, I just think feats outweigh statements. And there's no feats for Sakumo, unfortunately. So what's going on, Luis? No Discord live? You mean a call-in show? Not today, no. All right, folks. Any donations are appreciated, so if anyone donates and asks a question, I, of course, will stop answering these and prioritize that. So, and thank you for all the donations in the past. It's greatly appreciated as well. They all go back to the channel anyway, so thank you for that, folks. You guys are all goats. Well, let's continue. All right. Much love to you, bro. You're the goat. Appreciate that, brother. All right, so this one I gotta answer. It's one of the most contentious and highly debated topics in all of the Naruto fandom. Itachi versus Pain. Highly debated, highly contentious, highly thought out topic. Right, so this is my assessment, and of course you can't. There's no way you could satisfy the majority of people that discuss this. It's impossible. Right, but this is my thoughts. Kishimoto clearly allowed us to observe a brief interaction between these two during the time as reanimations. right? When a writer paints out or writes out a fight, he is trying to he's trying to create this canvas for us to kind of catch on, right, with implications, right? If player A beats player B, the writer is implying that player A is superior to player B, right, via modus ponens. Right, so continuing on. Itachi was able to blitz Pain on multiple occasions. Now let's break down the context here. People say he was crippled. No, he wasn't. He absorbed Killer Bee's chakra at this point. He had his hair back. He wasn't crippled no longer. He was off guard. He was looking directly at Naruto when Killer Bee tried to blitz him, and he failed to blitz him, and he caught him with one of his arms. So all of a sudden, he's not on guard. At this point, by the way, Kabuto was aware of the Kodo Matsukami. So you can't say that he was off guard in that instance either. Intrinsically and extrinsically, he was not off guard. He failed to react, and he got sideswiped by Itachi. That is shown in the very manga itself. Right, so continuing on. Okay, I already read that part. So the most contentious aspect of this is the Chubaku Tensei, right? Itachi had Killer Bee and Naruto help him destroy it. Does that prove he can't destroy it on his own? No. Does it prove he can destroy it on his own? No. That's the most contentious part. There's no one that could concretely prove that he can or can't destroy it, right? Because just because he had help doesn't mean he can't destroy it. He's intelligent, right? If you look at this rationally, the best course of action is to have as much AP attack that epicenter of the Chubaku Tensei as possible, right? So he, in his mind, he's like, right, maybe I can destroy it, but there's a better shot that it will be destroyed if I had Naruto's Biju bombs and Killer Bee's Biju bombs help me out. That doesn't prove that he can't destroy it on his own. That just proves he's intelligent, right? Which he clearly is. So continuing on, that part no one can prove, right? But what we rationally can do safely is that Itachi has superior speed, right? We can safely, to some arbitrary degree, claim that, right? And because of that, in the event that they were to battle, he could use that advantage to defeat Pain with one of his hacks abilities, such as the Totsuka Blade, which he did in that fight itself. Or he could use one of his Genjutsu. I know that's contentious. Some people believe that because the Rinnegan is the superior dojutsu, it's immune to Genjutsu. There really is no way to prove that. Again, you can't use Sasuke protecting everyone from the Infinite Tsukuyomi because he had a Rinne Sharingan. He had 6 past powers. That wasn't the average Rinnegan. So you can't say, oh, that proves that Rinnegan's immune to Genjutsu. Not necessarily. That and the fact that the Susanoo protected Naruto, Kakashi, and Sakura from it. Right? They didn't have Rennegans, and they didn't get caught in it either. So you could simply say that someone with a 6-pass level Susanoo can protect you from the Infinite Tsukuyomi. You could simply say that too. So that doesn't prove anything. There's a lot that's unprovable here. That's the point. That's a lot that's unprovable. So the point is, empirically, there's more for Itachi. Kishimoto allowed him to outspeed him. Simple as that. I know people hate to hear that, but that's the facts. He allowed that to occur. He allowed Itachi to be triumphant. It is what it is. It is what it is. So, all right, let's read some of these. That's a good question, though, and I know I'm not going to, please everybody. Some people are Pain fans, and I don't blame you for saying he would win either. But in my opinion, it's more empirically for Pain. Speaking of Sakumo, what if Orochimaru brought it back along? I'm actually answer that question later on, unless you super chat now. What are your thoughts on Gaara versus Toph? Avatar: The Last Airbender is an interesting verse to scale. If you take, some of the, I guess you could say, the scriptures of the Avatar and all this literally, then you could scale these characters to, specifically Aang to beyond universal, right? But Toph versus Gaara, Toph can metal bend. I don't know how Gaara would deal with that, but then you got to take into account AP, durability, things of this nature. From the top of my head, might lean towards Toph. Maybe before Boruto. After Boruto, we're talking about universal threats and shit. Not universal, excuse me. We're talking about like solar system plus level threats. And Gaara's detaining Kinshiki and shit like that. And in the anime, he's detaining fucking Momoshiki. I think he'd probably be Toph. So I would probably say Toph before Shippuden ends, and then after I would say Gaara. This is just off the top of my head. Let's see here. All right, I'm going to answer one more of these, folks, and I'll answer your questions unless someone donates. By the way, folks, for you guys that came in, once again, hit the like button. It's greatly appreciated. I'm going to answer your questions unless someone super chats. So, Leilu, I guess I'll answer your question because this one's similar. I'll answer this one first. What happens if Orochimaru brings back an Edo might die? How would that change the war arc, in your opinion? This can be simply answered, right? So I've said this, I've articulated this in the past. Not all 8-gate users are created equal, and I would answer the power level that these people achieve is not equal. Think about it this way. Might Guy in 8 gates was capable of nearly killing Jubidara. Jubidara is a highly, highly powerful shinobi, clearly. While Might Dai only killed 4 out of the 7 legendary swordsmen of the mist. It's easy to deduce who had the more impressive feat, right? So we can easily deduce who's more powerful between those two, Might Dai and Might Guy in 8 gates. All right, so continuing on. Simply put, the higher caliber shinobi should be able to deal with Might Dai pretty easily. Fairly easily. KCM Naruto would body Might Dai, even with 8 gates. Again, he's not as powerful as 8 gates Might Guy. It's different. Alright, so to answer your questions, Leilu was thinking to Sakumo, what if Orochimaru brought him back with the first and second Hokage in part 1? He is inferior to the first, for sure. He might be relative to Tobirama. I don't think so. Sakumo is greatly superior to the Sannin, right? According to Minato, at least. I would argue he would, at best, highballing him, be around the level of Tobirama or one of the weaker Hokage. He's not Hashirama level. He's probably not Minato level. But even so, I do think he's inferior to all of them, in my opinion. Are you reading Watching Chainsaw Man? Actually, no. I've heard it's amazing, but I have not watched it or seen it yet. But I definitely will because of all the hype around it. All right, on to this one as well. Do you think movies nowadays are caring less about having a great story, but are now going for more flashy special effects and appeasement for the given period? I think to a certain degree, yes, I do think that's the case. It's not really about a polarizing story, because to get caught up in a story, it involves you to use rational deduction, right? If you just watch a movie on surface level for the aesthetics, then you might be pleased by a action movie or something like that. So yeah, that I think to some degree what you're saying is true. All right, answering the next question. All right, so Jordan, I guess I'm gonna speak on what you're talking about right now. Do you think Shikamaru would be able to solve the Kira case? All right, so analyzing this rationally, I think you can make arguments for both sides. So both individuals have an IQ over 200. However, analyzing this rationally, I would deduce that Light is more intelligent, and he has more instances of him having to improve and rationally deduce the best approach when facing his enemies. Right? There's much more empirically for him, since the very nature of Death Note revolves around logic and deduction rather than battle prowess, compared in the Naruto-verse. So continuing on. Furthermore, I would also deduce that Light Yagami is more persistent and ambitious than Shikamaru personality-wise. Definitely early on in like part 1 Naruto, Shikamaru had no ambition. Light Yagami would just outwill him if their intelligence is relative, right? So take that into account as well. I would predict that Shikamaru would give Light a considerable challenge, but I would claim that Light would eventually outsmart Shikamaru if they were to never meet in person. So that's an important aspect in my opinion. So now let's discuss if they did meet in person, right? Let's say like similar to Light and L, right? When they had a tennis match, or when L first met Light, and I think they were in some college meeting or something like that. Think about it this way. If they did meet, I would argue Shikamaru would take advantage of the fact that Light Yagami has a borderline narcissistic personality, which would allow him to deduce that if he could successfully create a cat and mouse game in Light's mind like L did, he might be able to use that to his advantage, and it would cause Light's deductive skills to be hampered by his own pride and emotion, which is exactly what happened in Death Note when he lost to Nier and Mello. They took advantage of his prideful and egotistical personality, right? L, I would argue, had his own his own egotistical tendencies, and that's why he lost. If he would have stayed true to the mission, he might have had a good shot at beating him. But he got caught up in the cat and mouse game just like Light did. They both did. And who won? Light did, right? Why? Because he had the tool of the Death Note. He had this mystical power that L did not possess, right? So Light would probably be defeated similar to how he was by Mello and Nier if they were to meet in person during this exchange or this battle. Shinobis and Naruto are superhumans. Yeah, I'm not talking about who would win in a fight. Clearly Shikamaru would body his ass. I'm talking about if he was in the position that L was in. I would argue he would. All right, let's say that he's a regular dude. It comes down to intelligence. If it comes down to battling, obviously Shikamaru would win. I mean, Shinobis have superior physiology. They're superior in many, many ways by a great margin. So There's no way fucking Light would be able to fuck with that. So he would show up to his house, break in, shadow possession his ass, and cut his throat. Simple as that. Okay. Let's see. If only 5% of the universe is comprised of luminous objects that aren't, are we really the anomaly? What does that say about life existing? Okay, I see what you're saying. So aren't we really the anomaly because most, at least to our knowledge, most objects in the universe aren't luminous? I think from our subjective lens as a human race, I think we aren't the anomaly, but I think in the grand scheme of things we are, statistically speaking, right? It goes back to the idea of, right, the electromagnetic spectrum, right? There's our knowledge it's limited. There are many probably new laws in the universe that we're not even aware of. We're only aware of our own, our world's physical properties and chemical properties to a certain degree. And right, we have rovers in space that are very limited as far as how far they can travel, at least when you compare it to the grand size of the universe. So yeah, I think in the grand scheme of things, we are an anomaly. I think, again, I'm not an astronomer, but I think I was reading NASA has assessed that there are probably other worlds where organisms can be sustainable, where life can be sustained, right? Other ecosystems and on other celestial bodies in other universes, in other galaxies and in other solar systems as well. All right, continuing on. All right, so surprisingly, there weren't many power scaling questions. There's a lot of IRL questions, which I don't mind either. So I'll get to that, but I'll answer your questions down here first. And also, if you want me to continue anime tangent, which I still will if you guys ask. If you guys super chat, then I'll get more in depth. But continuing on. Let's see. Do you think the Ten Tails can take on Godzilla from the MonsterVerse? I'm not very familiar with the scaling of Godzilla, but if he's anything near the mainstream level, like in the movies, the Ten Tails would obliterate him, for sure. Yeah, whether you take the religious or scientific route, I think both lead to us being an anomaly. Agreed. We have aspects about ourselves that are unexplainable even to the best minds today. Thanks for the $5, Sean. I appreciate that. You're a goat for that. Appreciate that. Showing support for the channel. Appreciate that, brother. Highly appreciated. All right. Thoughts on UFC 280. Since we're going into miscellaneous topics, let me discuss that because I watched that very carefully. I'm gonna talk about the fights that we really care about. The top 3. Sean O'Malley should have lost that fight. I thought Peter Yan beat him 29-28. Was it a robbery? No. I don't know why people are claiming it to be. I would say the judges probably prioritized damage over ground control, which I guess is fine because he did knee Yan in the fucking face and open him up, which no one has done to Yan, to my knowledge, before. And Sean fought well. I would even argue he had slightly more success in the striking department. Obviously, Yan had the better grappling success by far, right? O'Malley didn't even fucking land a takedown. As far as the main event, as far as the co-main event, it's very, very unfortunate that Dillashaw's shoulder popped out of place, and it was already a pre-existing injury. I think it would have been a good fight if he would have been healthy. He wasn't healthy. I don't understand why he took the fight. I get it. He's getting old, but why fight if you're going to lose more than likely? I don't understand that. Right? So that's not Sterling's fault. He did what he had to do. And the main event, Islam's the real deal. He's the real deal. He's not Khabib. He's different. I think he's a significantly better striker than Khabib. Not as good as a wrestler, but close. And a better striker. He's a fucking monster. He's going to be a champ for a long time. That's all I got to say. All right. Sean, since you donated, I'll answer your questions first. Appreciate it once again, brother. All right. KCM2 Naruto with Sage Mode versus Alive EMS Madara. Final Valley. KCM2 Naruto. All right, so I did some scaling on this, and my views have changed on where Naruto scales. So this is the way I look at it. Madara never reached. So Hashirama states when Madara was barely getting Sage Mode, right, when he absorbed it from Hashirama, he was barely approaching his past power, right? So he was never at the level he was during the Final Valley, right? And he was already fucking up KCM2 Naruto, right? Let's not talk about Sage Mode KCM2. Let's talk about KCM2. I would say that EMS Madara would body KCM2 Naruto. Definitely early KCM2 Naruto. He wouldn't stand a chance. He would overwhelm him. He's faster than him. He's stronger than him. And he has a perfect Susanoo as well. I don't think he beats him, honestly. I think maybe Sage Mode KCM2 would be a different story, right? That might be a different story, but KCM2 Naruto at the beginning of the war up until Sage Mode, I don't think so. You know, when Madara was bodying him and Sasuke and everybody else. So I used to think that KCM2 Naruto would beat Hashirama. No, he doesn't. You know, look at the empirical evidence. No. Hashirama beats him up until probably KCM2 Sage Mode Naruto, when he starts to actually press Jubito, who is above anybody else was speaking of, to a certain degree. So, yeah. Contentious topic, though, for sure. Alright, so, for the spirit of Halloween, which is a W... Where is it? Which is a W holiday, someone asked me, where is it at? Your favorite horror movie. So, happy early Halloween to you folks, first of all. So my favorite horror movie is a good question. If I had to give a nod to a movie that I've seen that was legitimately evil and in the spirit of Halloween, I might say The Exorcist, right? The original one. I just think the way the demon-possessed child was portrayed was pretty well done. I think it was very well done. You know, from the body contorting to the little girl cussing at the priest that's trying to go through this exorcism. It was very well done. And as a child, it was very polarizing. And obviously creepy as well. So Exorcism might be my number one. But to give some honorable mentions, Halloween, of course, right? The original Halloween movie. It, the original. Psycho, which is actually a very old movie, but when I was a child, it scared me shitless. It was about this psychotic man that did some crazy shit, and even the 1960 black and white vibes amplified it. To be honest, I'm sure some people have seen that movie. It's an old movie, but it's still fucking scary. So yeah, those are the honorable mentions. Is Halloween an American only thing? Because that's where I know it from. I believe so. I think the immediate countries that neighbor it also, they also celebrate it, to my knowledge at least. On that Halloween tangent, how about Jason versus Michael Myers in a 1v1? That's interesting. From what I know of Michael, it seems that he gets stronger the more he kills. So it depends on which Michael we're talking about. If we're talking about this, obviously, as you can tell by the little title I have to my bottom right, and I think that'd probably be, to your left? I don't know. The movie was fucking ass, right? And he was weak as fuck. He got overpowered by a little shit stain in the movie, which was pathetic. But the movie previously, he killed a whole town of people. So if we're talking about that Michael, that motherfucker might kill Jason. But Jason is immortal, right? But at that point, Michael was at another level. If Jason can cut his head off, maybe, and just keep it, bury it under, throw it in the river or something, maybe he'll kill Mike that way. But I think Michael's at another level when he's killed enough people. So I think that would be the most competitive. If it's any version of Michael weaker than that, I think Jason would just beat the fuck out of him, to be honest. So in most instances, Jason would win. If it's like a bloodlusted, high kill count Michael Myers, then Mike might take it. How tall are you? I'm 6 foot. Alright, I think Halloween has a few different roots pulled from multiple cultures. I know for a fact there's an old tradition in England that has to do with massive pumpkins. Yeah, I feel like Halloween, I'm not a expert on Halloween history, but it seems fairly recent in human history. And even in modern human history, to my knowledge at least. Halloween to me, it's a fun holiday. It's fun to get in the spirit, in a non-weird way, right? Obviously, if you're revering malevolent entities, that's a problem. But if you're just for the spirit of Halloween, sure. That's the way I look at it these days. All right. That was the first question here. So this is a Naruto-based question, again, unless someone donates. All right, Sean, or did you see the Kanye West and what debacle that was? Yeah, I saw some of it. I need to finish it, and I can give my real thoughts on it. Kanye's interesting. He's an interesting fella. I'm a fan. I think his craziness kind of in a way, aids his genius in some weird way. I need to watch the whole thing though, for sure. Someone asked top 5 Naruto jutsus and villains. So jutsus, I would say top 5 Tsukuyomi. This is not in order. Tsukuyomi, I think aesthetically is very cool. The whole idea of being caught in the user's very will is very very cool as well. Shadow Clone Jutsu, I mean, it's the reason why Naruto is what he is now. Literally, he could amplify his training speed. The rate of improvement is exponentially times higher than the average shinobi, etc. He could legitimately create an army to destroy the shinobi world if he wanted to, especially when he was in his prime before the nerfing. No one would be able to stop it. Right? Let's say the shinobi world had Naruto become malevolent, the whole world would be fucked. Sasuke would be the only hope they have. And I would argue he'd probably lose too. Flying Raijin, I mean, come on. Easy to deduce why that's on the top. You literally can move in an instantaneous fashion. Anywhere you put a seal on the ground, you can go. It's insane. The 8 inner gates, I mean, aesthetically it's amazing. It gives you damn near 6, it damn near gets you to the caliber of a six pass tier character. I mean, 8 inner gates guy almost killed Jubidara. So, and finally, I'd probably say Kodo Matsukami. It literally manipulates your will without you even realizing it. Right? It's like it puts you in this trance of you acting out someone else's will. They impose your will on you in a literal fashion, which is it's crazy. So, what if Super Saiyan God was introduced into DBGT? Would Goku stomp everyone, including Omega Shenron? Yeah, the way I look at God Ki is that it has different properties from that of regular Ki. I think is in a whole different tier, obviously, right? We look at someone like Super Saiyan 3 Goku against, a very passive Beerus. He got his shit stomped easily. So God Ki is just a more optimal Ki, and I would say, yeah, he would stomp everyone. I don't think anyone, at least to my knowledge of GT, scales to that degree. So, let's see. All right, so another good question asked. Whose ninja moniker did you like and thought was most fitting? This can be easily answered from my subjective lens. I would definitely say Minato's Yellow Flash moniker is the best. It's the coldest. It's the most fitting. It perfectly describes what he was. Literally. So, definitely Minato's is the best, in my opinion, at least. Have you seen the new manga chapter of Sasuke's story that was released today? Not yet. I know there's some new content on Sasuke as well. A new novel, if I'm not mistaken. I need to look into all of that to give my in-depth thoughts on that as well. All right, let's continue on. Let me check something real quick. All right, we're good. Okay, let's see here. What's your favorite anime? That's a good question. I would say currently, narratively, maybe Attack on Titan. It was spectacular. Like, genuinely masterpiece as far as narrative. As far as aesthetically, probably Dragon Ball. The animations are reaching new heights. And I think they're going to continue when Dragon Ball begins to air again, right? When the anime begins to air again with new episodes. So, Dragon Ball has always been aesthetically pleasing ever since its commencement, in my opinion. So, that would be my answer to that question. Oh shit, $20 from Sir Jeets. Appreciate it, brother. Be the GOAT. Been a GOAT. Alright, let me go ahead and, as usual, continue the tradition of putting yours on the screen. Appreciate it, brother, and then I'll answer your question. Let's see here. Where is it? Give me a second, and I shall answer that question in depth, of course. Alright. Give me a second, folks, and I shall continue. Here it is. Alright, let's go ahead and answer your question. Thanks again, brother. What's up? I got a question for you. Who would win between Warwick Orochimaru versus Pain that fought Sage Naruto? Alright, so we got to break down their feats, right? Warwick Orochimaru was capable of reanimating, the 4 Hokage. Clearly, there was some Hokage that were more powerful, that were powerful enough to break out of if they wanted to. So that allows you to deduce that he obviously isn't at that level, right? he was able to revive them and control them because they allowed him to. At least a Hashirama, bare minimum. I would argue that they all allowed him. And now we got to take into account Pain, right? The one that fought Sage Naruto. That was a fatigued Pain. But breaking this down logically based off feats empirically, Pain is just superior. I believe Orochimaru had to have help when dealing with was the Guru. He was dealing with an opponent that Soigetsu and Kari and all these other people had to help fight. So clearly he's not that powerful, and I definitely wouldn't say he's on the level of Pain, even a fatigued Pain, the one that fought Sage Naruto. So I would say Warwick Orochimaru would probably lose to Pain. Now, comparing Orochimaru to Sage Mode Naruto, I do think he would beat. There's a good chance that he might beat Naruto, but I think Pain is on another level, right? Naruto needed the Nine Tails aid to deal with a fatigued Pain, right? And that's what we're talking about. Now, if we're talking about Prime Pain in the Rain Village, Orochimaru's not handling that. That's, of course, if we're not talking about the Edo Tensei. With the Edo Tensei, he'd get fucking shit stomped by the Hokage, but Orochimaru on his own? No, I don't think so. I think empirically it holds as well, so. Alright, folks. Appreciate that once again, though, brother. You're a goat for that. Appreciate that. I'm guessing Pain might win. Yeah, most likely he would. Most likely he would. Who's more evil, Part 1 Gaara or Hidan? Those are good people to compare because obviously they're some of the most sadistic individuals in the verse. Maybe that's a good question. The way I look at it, Gaara answered to nobody. Hidan at least answers to this, whatever you want to call it, this god that he responds to. Give me a second, folks. I think my thing is lagging. My stream is lagging. See what the issue is. Alright, I think we're good. It was lagging for a second, but indications tell me it's good. Apologies for that. Let me make sure it clears up before I answer the next question. Make sure to hit the like button, folks, once again, for you guys that came in. Let's get this to 30 plus likes once again. You guys are goated for getting it to 30 likes the last one. Let's try to make it consistent. It gets us up in the algorithm, gets more eyeballs, etc. So, alright. I think my stream is good. If it does freeze a lot, let me know, folks. I'll try to make an adjustment. Alright, continuing on. That's good now. Appreciate that. Alright, so continuing on. Gaara seems more sadistic to me in Part 1. The reason for that is because he answers to nobody, and it seems he just has a very primal bloodlust. He simply does it for the sake of doing it, to get a thrill from it. Hidan, he's similar in some sense, but he at least answers to somebody, and for that very reason, I would say probably Part 1 Gaara is more sadistic. He's more sadistic. He's more cutthroat than Hidan, in my opinion. But they're two of the most sadistic individuals in the entire verse. There's no doubt about that. No doubt. Alright, continuing on here. Alright, let's answer one of these questions. Someone asked, what's the worst in the big three? Right, so the big three is the term we use for the most popular animes on the planet, right? Naruto, Dragon Ball, and One Piece. Excuse me, it's not. It's, I believe, Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach. Never mind. I think those are the top three, the big three, if I'm not mistaken. Well, obviously, I'm going to say One Piece because I haven't read it. It's obviously biased in my own subjective lens. So One Piece, even though I've never read it. I might change my mind after I read it. So, alright. Do you think Broly's Berserker form from the movie could beat Vegeta in Super Saiyan Blue from Resurrection of Frieza? I don't think so. If you mean the old Broly, no. The new Broly, of course. I think Gaara just killed because he lusted for it. Exactly. Yep, that's exactly the case. And that's why I think he was just more primal and sadistic than Hidan was. He had no friends. Not even his own siblings were safe. They were always at risk of him lashing out. Once again, 20 bucks from the goats, Sir Jeets. Stop the fucking show. Appreciate it, brother. Alright. Let me go ahead and put this on the screen very quickly. Appreciate that, brother. Put this on the screen. Give me a second, folks. The GOAT, Sir Jeets, once again. At it again. Appreciate that, brother. Alright, where is it? Here it is. Go ahead and find this image. Cool. Alright, so to answer your question, if Baby from Dragon Ball GT took control of Broly from the Broly movie, who would win between him and Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta? If Baby took control of him. The thing about Broly is the way, at least to my knowledge, the way he amplifies his powers, it's similar to Hulk, right? It's just the more he battles, the stronger he gets. I think Baby, if Baby is aware of that, then maybe Baby would try to prolong the fight, because that would lead towards Broly, right? That would make the battle lean towards Broly eventually. It would take a long fucking time, because the gap was so fucking large. Think about it this way. Broly came in, right, when he very, very first came in on Earth with Frieza and his dad. Base Vegeta was able to at least compete with him, right? Very quickly, you had to go to Super Saiyan after a while. And then you had to go to God. And then, and then Goku had to take over, and him and Blue was getting his ass whipped. So he amplified very quickly. Very, very quickly. And I think exponential is an understatement, right? How quick he progressed power level wise. But what we could deduce is that Gogeta is so far ahead of any power level Broly's ever touched, and ahead of any power level that Goku and Vegeta could have touched at that point, that it was going to take a while for Broly to get there. So Baby would have to prolong the battle somehow. Prolong it and use the fact that Broly seems to have a limitless increase to his advantage, right? And maybe then Broly could contend. So. Oh shit, $20 from Sean. Sorry, Sean, I was reading something else. Appreciate that, brother. GOAT. We're gonna put that on the screen real quick. Appreciate all the donations, folks. Going all back to the channel. Appreciate that. Answer your question as well. Let's see here. Get that. This over here. Gotta continue the tradition, all the goats need to be acknowledged on here, so appreciate that, brother. Alright, let me go ahead and put this one on the screen as well. I shall answer your question as well. Alright, here it is. Where'd it go? Oh, it's behind this one. There you go. Alright, so Prime Itachi versus Jonin Yellow Flash Minato. This is a good question. So to break this one down, Prime Itachi hypothetically is stronger than Edo Itachi, right? The one that fought Edo Nagato. Well, if you want to call it a fight, it was a very quick exchange. Now, how would he do against Jonin Minato, right? The very Minato that reacted to Raikage, the Raikage at full speed. So we got to compare speed feats here. Itachi was able to at least contend with the KCM1 Naruto. I would argue he was more fatigued at that point, was barely learning how to use it, couldn't use it sustainably, and I believe he had other clones on the battlefield as well. I would probably lean towards Minato. I would rationally deduce he has a speed advantage. But then again, it's hard to quantify Itachi's speed. It is hard to quantify that. I think Minato's, at bare minimum, his reaction times would be superior, even as a Jonin, reacted to light speed, in a very casual fashion, lets you know where his reaction times chart off at. It's ridiculous. If he is aware of Prime Itachi's abilities, which with his intelligence he would be, I do think he would avoid the Genjutsu threat by simply reacting before Itachi could. Again, there's no way to quantify the speed of Itachi, but I lean towards Jonin Minato having the speed advantage because of that. He's in his element if he has a speed advantage, so with flying Raijin, Alright. Chunin exams Naruto, Sasuke, Lee, Neji, and Gaara versus Hidan. Hidan was able to compete with well, not MS, excuse me. He was able to compete with Kakashi with his Sharingan out, with his base Sharingan. I might lean towards... Oh shit, $10 by Sir Jeets. I appreciate that, brother. Appreciate that. Now to answer that question that was on, I might still lean towards Hidan. I don't think anyone reaches the level of Hidan. Again, a prerequisite to enter the Akatsuki is you got to be Biju level, and I don't think Naruto, Sasuke, or any of those guys were Biju level at that point, including Gaara. I know he awakened the One Tail, right, but he's not a perfect Jinchuriki. I mean, Hidan captured a perfect Jinchuriki, right, in the Two Tails. So I would lean towards Hidan still. As crazy as it sounds, I think empirically, the Akatsuki are another caliber, which is why they weren't introduced until Shippuden, when Sasuke and Naruto got more powerful, you know. I drew my icon, by the way. Yeah, it's cool. It's a cool icon for sure. All right, so feel free to keep asking questions, folks. And you know what? Because Sir Jeets is a goat, I'm going to put his donation on the screen as well, even this one. I usually do 20 plus, but because Sir Jeets has been a goat for several streams with the donations, gotta acknowledge the goat, man. Gotta acknowledge the goat. So, get this. Put it on the screen real quick. Feel free to keep asking questions, folks. I shall continue to answer. All right. Continuing on. Find this image real quick. There it is. Appreciate that, brother. Appreciate it greatly. All right, the internet is dropping again. I think we're good. Apologies for the internet, folks. It's very unstable. I think we should be okay. Seeing if it levels out. If it's really bad, let me know, folks. Let me know if it really cuts out. All right, so continuing on. These are some IRL questions. Of course, continue to ask any questions you may have that are anime or IRL or anything of that nature. Any questions at all. As controversial as possible, as cool as possible, whatever you please, I'll answer. Let me check the internet one more time, folks. Give me a second here. It's a nuisance. I think we're good. All right. Let's continue on. Just let me know if it's freezing a lot, and I'll try to fix it if I can. All right. So someone asked, could America get into another civil war? And if so, how would it affect the rest of the world? All right. So this is an IRL question. It's a good question. So this is the way I look at this. All right. So I believe what is highly likely is that there isn't so much of a physical war, civil war, but more so of a virtual one, which I think kind of already is happening to a certain extent. So censorship, right, has spiked amongst the virtual superpowers, so to speak, with events such as YouTube banning Tate, Twitter banning Trump, Jordan Peterson, etc. It is crystal clear that there are deep bias embedded in these entities, which from my perspective is dangerously tyrannical. I don't think either side of the political spectrum should be censored. Honestly, I do not. I think it's very tyrannical that anyone is censored, right? It's very tyrannical, and that these superpowers clearly have an agenda towards one side. A bias agenda, which is very tyrannical in my opinion. Despite whether you agree with these people or not, I think it's tyrannical that you shut their voices down. It's not optimal for the greater good of the modern world, in my opinion. There has to be as much competing ideas as possible. That's the only way to come to a viable solution on any such said matter. Right? That's the way I look at it. So continuing on here, I would describe this as the metaphorical beheading of the political right, right? The political right-wing conservatives being beheaded as we speak because of deeply embedded bias in these virtual superpowers, I call them, like Twitter, like Facebook, like Instagram. It's very tyrannical. I think I'm freezing quite a bit. I'm gonna try to do something. Let's see if this works. Let's see. See if it clears it up or not. Alright, but continuing on. Where was I? I think this will gradually cause a deeper and deeper divide, resulting in a very hostile online environment, which we kind of already have, to be quite honest, considering humans are inherently tribal. Right, so I believe it will get to a point where respective sides of the political spectrum will congregate on different social media platforms altogether. I think that the right will go to places like Rumble, etc., and the left will stay on Twitter and these other clearly left-wing favoring virtual superpowers. I think that's what's going to happen. And people are just going to stay on their respective sides, which I think is dangerous. There is no room for open-mindedness. Everyone's closed-minded on both sides of the political spectrum. It shouldn't be that way. You know, it's not a healthy way to socialize amongst each other in society, in my opinion at least. It's not the right way to do things. So, but continuing on, I believe the only way there would be a literal civil war, where there's actually guns being shot, stuff like that, would be an outlandish legislative decision that is clearly biased and illogical from either side of the political spectrum. If there's like some crazy legislation that's passed that's so barbaric, so tyrannical, that it just angers one side, maybe that would be what it takes. But it'd have to be crazy. Like, literally taking away, let's say, the right wing's ability to even have social media, right? That would be something that would cause something like that, which I don't think will ever happen because of the checks and balances embedded in the U.S. governmental system. I think that's going to keep things in check from ever getting to that degree, at least. So that would be my assessment on civil war. You know, I think it's highly unlikely that there's ever going to be a physical civil war, in my opinion, at least. All right, so let's read your guys' questions real quick. Let's see here. I enjoy your reactions and analysis, my man. I appreciate that, Lanes. Appreciate that greatly. KCM Minato is overrated. He isn't stronger than KCM 2 Naruto or EMS Sasuke. I mean, if you can bring up empirical evidence that suggests that, sure. I don't think it's being beheaded. I think it's getting changed to be reformed for the better. I disagree, because simply censoring doesn't reform anything, and it hampers the ability of any improvement at all. You know, that's the way I look at it. All right, folks. I'm seeing the screen, my own stream, seeing if I'm freezing. If I keep freezing, I might just turn the camera off and just speak. That way, you know, I'm not cut off while I'm speaking. So I think that takes away a lot of bandwidth from the stream. That's why. So if it continues to do that, then yeah, that's what I'll do. All right, continuing on. Can Hagoromo give his powers to people other than his son's reincarnations, and do they have to be descendants for it to be permanent? I mean, Hagoromo essentially is one of the pioneers of, well, technically it was his mother who pioneered chakra. Based on what he's capable of, I don't see why he couldn't. Especially considering there were other individuals that were not reincarnations that had six-pass chakra, right? DMS Kakashi and Jubito. So I would say, why not? I think he probably could. So, all right. All right, the stream soon. I think I'm going to turn off the camera, folks. Let's see if that helps. Let's see. Give me a second. See if it clears it up, because that is very annoying. Let me put a background picture for now. Give me a second. It's freezing a lot. Give me a second. See if that clears up the bandwidth. Should clear it up. I believe so. Let's put this in the middle for now. I'm not sure why the internet's so poor today. It's a shame. All right, folks. Keep asking questions, though, if you have any questions. Any questions at all? All right. It's still not fixing itself. trying to figure out why it's so poor right now. If my voice is cutting off because of the internet, let me know, folks. Because that's a real problem. If you can't even hear me speaking clearly. Alright, continuing on here. Let's see. America versus Hidden Leaf Village in no Konoha 12. I'm assuming you mean the Genin. America in the real world versus the Hidden Leaf Village. I mean, these jutsu by some of these individuals would destroy the world. You know, A.G. Smite guy would body the military. Yeah. All right, so continuing on. Again, apologies for the internet problems, folks. As long as my voice isn't cutting in and out, I think we should be good. So, all right. Sean asks, "Who's truly the GOAT in the NBA? MJ, LeBron? Is it generationally based? You think? Biased? You think? I definitely think there is bias when people discuss this. And then of course you got to have your own, I guess, checklist when you're deciding who's the GOAT. In my opinion, it is LeBron over MJ because one, he's had a tougher competition and less help. I mean, he literally got one of the most ass teams to the finals twice. I think in which year was it? The year that he didn't have Kyrie and he went to the finals. Obviously, he had no chance against many All-Stars on one team, including KD. And then I believe in 07 or 08, he went to the finals as well. And he had no shot. His team was complete ass. The fact that he beat the Celtics in the conference finals to even get there is extremely impressive. And I do not believe that. Oh shit, $10 from the GOAT here. Let me get my sound effect out real quick. Appreciate it, Phantom Beard. Appreciate that. Let me go ahead and put that on the screen as well. You definitely deserve one of these. Appreciate that, brother. Alright, let me put that on the screen real quick. Give me a second, folks. Again, let me know if the internet starts fucking up. It's been a problem today for some reason. Of course it is. Alright, let me get this on the screen. Give me a second, folks. Alright, so I'll read your question why this works, because even this is slow right now. What movie series, in your opinion, has had the most influence on the world? Movie series. That's a good question. Let's see. The most influence on the world. What has changed culture? I'm trying to think of all the movies over the years. Maybe... Oh shit, $10 from Sir Jeets. Appreciate that too, brother. Alright. So to answer that question, who's had the most movies that have a ton of influence? In modern day, there's so many movies out there. Maybe a movie like Shawshank Redemption's up there. Let's see, what else? I guess Titanic in a way, because it was watched so much. The ideas that were portrayed in that one. The Godfather, the idea of masculinity, that was a big one for modern society as well. That's a hard question to answer. I would argue some of the Avengers movies, right, being some of the most highly grossed movies of all time. They've watched so many times that these values that these heroes have been passed down to everyone who watches them, to be honest. Give me a second here, folks. Alright, let me put these on the screen because you guys are goated for this. Appreciate it. Give me a second. And I'll answer your question too, Sir Jeets. I appreciate that. You also deserve one of these. I'll answer your questions too, sir. Your question as well, Sir Jeets. Give me a second here. The internet is abysmal currently, unfortunately. this on the screen as well. And this one on the screen as well. This one as well. All right, I'm gonna put this on the screen. I'll answer your question as well, Sir Jeets. See here. Image. Where is it? Give me a second, folks. Feel free to keep asking questions, folks. I'm answering all and any. Appreciate all the donations. You guys are goated for that as well. All right. Put this over here. And then the other one as well for all these goats that have donated. Let's go ahead and take a second to give an L for the internet. That deserves a and a bruh because of the horrible internet today. I apologize, folks. That is a shame. It's very upset. It's very irritating. We'll continue on though. Where is the other one? Here it is. Alright, to answer your question, Momoshiki versus Perfect Cell before self-destruction. I think Fused Momo would probably scale considerably over Solar System level. But Base Momo, as he is relative to Kaguya, I think that might be competitive if you presuppose that Kaguya was about to engulf a Solar System size dimension. So it really depends on what you presuppose as far as Kaguya's feat when she was using the expanding True Seeking Orb. That would answer the question. I tend to believe it possibly is Solar System because I saw several celestial bodies in the manga panels. So I would say Momoshiki at base. Base. Then there's a question of how would Ki interact with his ability to absorb ninjutsu. Would Ki be absorbed as well? If it is, then he might win. If it's not, then Perfect Cell would body him. But Fused Momo, I tend to believe, would be Perfect Cell. So, all right, folks. Continuing on. How strong do you think 6-pass Minato would be, and what techniques do you think he would create or acquire? Oh man, if he had 6-pass, he would be extremely powerful. Now, the only reason I don't think he'd be as strong as Sasuke and Naruto is because they're reincarnations. I think they're genetically predisposed to amplify the ability of 6-pass chakra. Again, that's speculation, but I think the idea of reincarnation kind of supports that rationally. Maybe not empirically, but rationally, I believe it does. So I would say it'd be very, very, very powerful. Maybe similar to like a DMS Kakashi, right? A guy that's not a reincarnation who has 6-pass chakra. I would say he would be around that tier and possibly faster, considering he's already as fast as he is in just base. So, all right, continuing on, folks. The show goes on, folks. Don't worry, the internet's not going to stop this train. It's not going to stop this train, despite the internet. All right, let's continue on. Do you think we need another Galileo, Einstein, or Isaac Newton to discover new advancements in the physics? Or do we have enough brilliant minds to make a revelation soon? I think the way I look at that is obviously a brilliant mind like that would greatly aid us. But I think technology has allowed people to not necessarily need those level of IQs to make breakthroughs. But I think the more brain power, the better. And the way human history seems to progress is every, few decades or centuries, there seems to be this guy that comes around who just revolutionizes, fields of science, such as Galileo, Einstein, Newton. So I do think we're going to need someone like that to make a huge breakthrough that's literally life-changing to modern society. So yeah, I do believe someone of that caliber would have to come around. Or do we have enough brilliant minds to make a revelation? I think we have a lot of brilliant minds on the case, but we need someone that transcends the typical brilliant mind, so to speak, to really make a revelation, at least from what you see empirically through human history. So, All right. By the way, folks, make sure to hit the like button once again. We're literally pushing through this shit internet tangent. So make sure to hit the like button. I can't even fucking click on the sound effects right now because of it. Let's see. There we go. That one went through. Make sure to hit the like button because of this. All right, continuing on. And I appreciate all the donations, by the way, folks. You guys are all goats. Appreciate that. All right, continuing on. Avatar did make a lot of controversy. Even China didn't want to release the movie because they were afraid of possible riots. Interesting. Avatar, again, was another one of the most highest grossing movies of all time. So yeah, definitely makes sense. Extremely influential. Extremely well known as well, clearly. All right. I'm going to go ahead and answer one of you guys' questions on the pre-live stream questions, unless someone donates. I have to stop. All right. So thoughts on Andrew Tate views on clinical depression. What ways of improvement would you offer to someone in a deep state of clinical depression? All right, so this is a good question. Let me see if before I answer that, never mind, the internet's still bad. All right, so I'll go ahead and answer this question. So I would admit that the way Andrew Tate speaks on clinical depression could be reiterated better, because him simply saying it doesn't exist is simply illogical, to be honest. However, I can deduce what he's really trying to say, what he really means and is trying to articulate, right? So he's saying that clinical depression isn't something you should consider as the end all be all if you are to be diagnosed with it, right? So don't consider it the end of the road for you as far as having a happy life if you're diagnosed with it, which I agree with. I agree with that. The human brain is a powerful muscle that can greatly influence what kind of life you live, right? And like any other muscle, you can't condition it to work the way you want it to, right? The brain is another muscle, a much more complex one, I'd argue, but a muscle nonetheless. So, continuing on. Now, of course, some individuals are more genetically predisposed to have issues with mental health, but there is always a way of improving it, no matter how bad the case is. You know, again, the mind's a muscle, and you can exercise it, just like you exercise any other part in the gym. So Tate basically promotes the idea of taking care of yourself and realizing that you are the one in control of your health and not genetic predisposition, right? So he's saying, yeah, you're genetically predisposed to this, but doesn't mean that's going to define you and dictate how your life's going to be lived, right? Which I agree with. It's the idea of nurture versus nature. You know, the idea of nurturing yourself over nature, right? Which I completely agree with. Now, as far as what my suggestions would be to deal with that, before I begin, of course, I'm not a mental professional, so don't take this as wholly advice, but what I would say is, I think for improvement to someone in this state of depression would be to prioritize yourself in many aspects. When you're in a deep state of depression, I think you should steadily dig your way out of it, right? Don't push yourself too hard, but I would say steadily dig your way out. Start small with things, right? Start with what you got. With things like going to the gym, start slow. Getting rid of negative people and influence is actually a very big one. If you have friends that are negative or whatever, get rid of them. They're just aiding in your bad mental state, to be honest. And maybe other things like diet. You know, diet has definitely been linked to mental health as well, right? Basically, eating like shit is going to make you feel like shit. Eating good is going to make you feel good. It's as simple as that. I think any competent dietitian will tell you that. But continuing on. And you also got to come to terms with the fact that it's not easy to dig your way out of a deep state of depression, especially. It's not easy to dig your way out of that. It's not an easy thing to accomplish. And you got to come to terms with the fact that you're going to have to suffer on your way to success, right? And if you want a way to push yourself, I would say, in my opinion, the way to look at it is it's better to suffer on your way to success than suffer your way deeper down darkness, deeper into darkness. I think that's a good way of looking at it, because suffering is inevitable. Whether you're trying to do great things or whether you're completely engulfed by darkness mentally, you're going to suffer either way. So you might as well suffer on your way to something good, right? So continuing on, before you know it, 6, 12, 18 months, you might be a completely different person, a better person. So truly, the state of your mind and perspective greatly alters your life. Greatly, greatly. So, see here. See the chat. Has the social media affect masculinity in your opinion? Yes, it has greatly affected masculinity. Greatly. Essentially, masculinity is vilified and demonized on social media. Guys can't be men. They can't have standards, nothing. Why? Because it's vilified, it's demonized. You're categorized as a monster, or you're categorized as a malevolent being because you're masculine, you're dominant, and you have standards when it comes to relationships. It's a huge double standard, which is why I put on this stream, double standards are more popular than sliced bread. Truly. So, social media has greatly harmed masculinity and the idea of it as well. It's truly unfortunate. All right, so let's see if you guys asked any questions on here. Can Minato replicate Sasuke's teleportation? So when he marks an individual, he can teleport the person right in front of him without using a shadow clone or himself teleporting to that person. All right, let me read that again. Can Minato replicate Sasuke's teleportation? So when he marks an individual, he can teleport the person right in front of them without using a shadow clone. Okay, so I see what you're saying. I believe not. I don't believe that's the case. I believe that he needs to touch them, right? And I think one event that kind of proves that is when he and Naruto linked together to teleport, I believe, the ally shinobi forces away from a BG bomb, if I'm not mistaken. So he can't simply just touch them and teleport them where he likes. He is the source of teleportation. The markings simply allow him to go to those locations. I think that's the way it works. All right, thoughts on Kanye West denying the autopsy report on George Floyd, finding more fentanyl induced death rather than. That's a very touchy subject, but because you guys are goats, I guess I'll discuss it. Simply put, Kanye West, again, has his moments of whatever you want to call it, craziness, psychosis, but the intention he had, I wonder what it was when he was saying this, right? Maybe he was trying to protect the police, or I don't know what he was doing, but in my opinion, it was unnecessary to say what he said. Clearly, the cop that did what they did to Floyd were in the wrong, or all of them were, but specifically whatever that asshole's name was. It was definitely his doing, or at least a big part of Floyd's death was his doing. So I don't get where Kanye was going with this. I think he had a good intention, but it came out wrong. That's all I gotta say about that. I don't think what he was trying to go for happened, the way he wanted it to, at least. So, all right, continuing on. There are 2 reports, one before and after. Have you watched the doc? I have not. I probably will check that out myself. Are there any non-Atsuki characters that would be able to tank Conan's sea of paper bombs with just their body alone? Good question. Well, this is a tough question, right? Because when you look at it empirically, you look at it rationally. You look at the size of it, right? The six, however many it was, paper bombs. I think it was like 600 billion or something like that. It engulfed an entire ocean or a river, right? It was like underneath water somehow. However Conan set it up exactly. Now, if we take durability at face value, right, and we assess someone's AP, we could say something like, well, Naruto, right, was able to tank Momoshiki's punches and Sasuke as well. And there's, Fused Momoshiki is solar system level. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean his punches are solar system level. That just means his maximum AP is solar system level. But at bare minimum, his punches must be greatly above the large planet level. I think we can safely deduce that. So maybe the most powerful non-Atsuki characters could tank it. Someone like Naruto, I think he would survive it. Yeah. So I think there is some guys that probably could. Someone like Naruto with regenerative capabilities with their body alone. Yeah. All right, continuing on. All right. Where did Kanye die in the autopsy? The autopsy said no damage to the neck and double the lethal amount of fent plus meth. Really? Oh, I'm not familiar with that at all. So, but yeah, I don't see the purpose of him saying that. In my opinion, I think Russia's attacking Ukraine as survival. The way they make money is selling natural gases to Europe, and Ukraine has vast amounts of it, but can utilize it. I see. Yeah, that haven't really read up on it. Not too familiar with what's going on, so I'm neutral on it. People are like, oh, fuck you, Russia. Like, no, the only reason you're saying that is because you see Ukraine getting bombed, but you don't know why it's happening. If you know what's happening, and then you make, you're educated on it, and then you make your claims, and fine. But yeah. The family's trying to sue Kanye for way more than $2 million. Yeah, this whole suing thing. Speaking on suing, I know that Alex Jones, the conspiracy nut, was sued for $960 million because of his Sandy Hook comments. That's insane. Truly. All right, so another question that I thought was interesting. This is like a history-based question. How would Europe have changed if Hannibal conquered Rome? So if you guys are not familiar with, I guess you could say, this ancient history, Rome had a threat named, his name was Hannibal, and his goal was to take over Rome and stop, Rome's progression as a superpower in the ancient world. So this is what I think would happen. I'm not an expert on the ancient history, but I took a couple classes in it. Simply put, it'd be safe to deduce that Italy, right, would prosper without harsh rule and heavy taxes, which Rome imposed on them later on. That wouldn't happen, so it would be able to prosper without any restriction. However, even without Rome, I do think the Hellenistic Revolution would have still took place, which obviously begun by Alexander the Great. I still think that would have taken place. Also, I think that Carthage, without Rome interfering, would have expanded considerably throughout the ancient world as well during that era. So it's safe to see that. Honestly, it's safe to say that ancient history's influence on the modern world at large would have been different if Hannibal won. So it would greatly alter the way the world is now, arguably. Because a lot of Rome's practices heavily influence the modern world, even to this day. So. All right, let's see what you guys asked here. Let's see. What's your favorite Naruto fight? Not the series, but Naruto himself. That's a good question. Maybe not the Sasuke fight at the end of Shippuden. It was very appealing aesthetically and thematically, and emotionally appealing in many ways. Well, probably that one. Yeah, definitely. All right, folks. I think my internet is cleared up, so I'm gonna try the camera again. Let's see here. Give me a second. I believe it is good. So I'm going to turn it on so you don't have to stare at this picture. Believe we're good. Believe we're good. Alright, let me get rid of this image. Give me a second here. Alright, I think we're good. Apologies for the interruptions. I think I fixed it. I'll keep continuing to ask questions, folks. Any and all questions. Thanks for all the donations once again. You guys are goats. I appreciate that. Alright. Let's see here. Does the scene in Boruto that shows Naruto flying past the train, he probably still has 6 pass? I think it's a good argument for it. Because during his time having KCM, we never seen him fly. So I think that would be enough. It's a small instance, but I don't see why he wouldn't have 6 pass. So I think so. I think that is a piece of evidence you could bring up to suggest that. I do think so. All right, so continue to ask your questions, folks. Once again, apologies for that L moment with the internet. I apologize. I have to fix that ahead of time. That's my bad. But another IRL question here. What are your thoughts on the mystery and intrigue surrounding Area 51? For the spirit of Halloween, let's discuss this. And also, what was asked, what do you think actually happened? All right, so obviously it's a speculation, right? Clearly the Air Force keeps things classified for some arbitrary reason that only they know of. So the reason this is interesting to me particularly is because I'm not a hardcore realist, but obviously I'm not a conservative. I'm not a conspiratorial nut job either. I probably lean more towards realism, but I'm not outside the realm of conspiracy, I guess you could say. So I would say that Area 51, for the most part, is what the U.S. government has claimed it to be in the past, which is just simply an Air Force military installation, right? That's in Nevada, and it's been a place where a lot of weapons such as the U-2 spy plane and other planes have originated from. However, from my own subjective lens, right, I do think that the highly classified nature of it would suggest that there is definitely more than meets the eye. I definitely think so. Definitely. Continuing on, I think that humans are inherently curious, so any piece of extraterrestrial life form would be deeply buried and hidden from the general public, right? And the Air Force is super, super quiet on what takes place in Area 51, clearly. Like extremely classified information. So I do believe there are secrets hidden there that the U.S. government will forever deny to hide from the general public. Also, I think that what it most likely is existence of extraterrestrial life. I think empirically and rationally, there's enough to deduce the possibility of it, at least. Fun fact that I learned from a guy that used to work at NASA. He was a professor of mine. He said that recently NASA has deduced that there are 200 billion galaxies. Right, 200 billion galaxies, and exactly what else did he say? I need the exact. I had it written down somewhere. I think somewhere along the lines of 200 billion galaxies, which with each galaxy containing 200 billion solar systems, which each contains 100 billion stars or something of that nature. Right, that's what a guy that worked at NASA said. He was a professor of mine. He said this himself recently. So I would take his word for it. Obviously, these are ballpark numbers, right? These are all observational evidence. Also, I would say because of the large, gargantuan number of, celestial bodies and, these packs of mass known as galaxies existing, it's not hard to fathom that there's at least a handful of, celestial bodies where there are organisms on it with the ability to rationally deduce things, possibly at a higher level than we can. It's not hard to fathom that at all. I think the odds of it are good. Even if they are low, the vast number of galaxies and solar systems and hence bodies of celestial bodies would imply that. So think about it that way. If you have 100,000 computers, what are the odds that one is faulty? If you have 1 billion computers, what is the odd that one doesn't function? It's higher, right? The more the number, the higher the probability. So that's the way I look at it. The possibility of extraterrestrial life. All right. Third-rate Kage should be able to tank most of Conan's paper bombs. Yeah. Do you think the way a person walks speaks to their personality? Person, like in a literal sense? To some degree. It definitely does speak to the personality and their upbringing and their environment and their perspective on life. So I would say so. Does Jones even have 960 million? Probably not. Probably not. Was it the Romans who changed the viewpoint of sex as a pleasure activity rather than its main goal of reproduction? I would say Rome and all the superpowers of the ancient world, where science started to become a thing rather than religion, probably did start this idea. So yeah, I would say so. It's definitely one of them. Definitely. The sexual revolution of the 70s and 80s. What that did is it started to really separate church and state. I would argue as history of humankind progresses, religion and science began to distance itself more and more. That's why, at least in the modern world, there's the separation of church and state. So. Once again, folks, make sure to hit the like button. Appreciate it. Let's get this one to 30 plus likes once again. Let's make it consistent, Get this up in the algorithm, and it's greatly appreciated as well. All the alien talk about Area 51 and movies and TV and stories can be used as plausible deniability if there is alien tech there also. Correct. Yeah, correct. All right, folks, feel free to keep asking questions. All super chats are appreciated as well. I still have some other questions here that are pretty interesting. Let me see where they are real quick. There was another one that was quite interesting. Let's see. What should be the main focus of study? Exploration of the worlds or the outer space? So this is the way I look at this. I would assess that the main focus of study should be maximizing the efficiency of the resources all around us, from oceans to the atmosphere, for the sake of continuous survival of the human race. Right? It's a very logical thing to deduce. And also, I would say continuing the study of, studying the possibilities of new sources of energy, such as nuclear fusion and other forms of energy that would theoretically give us limitless sustainable energy. Of course, that's to be further studied. Very cautiously, of course. You don't want to create a apocalyptic event because you're trying to extract some new energy or create some new energy. You got to be very, very careful, which, of course, the greatest minds are. Right? So, however, I do think exploring beyond our own world is important as well. It should be more slow and steady, right? Which, by an extent is going to be, because the universe is massive. But the reason it's important is because in the future, as technology begins to advance and we're able to move up quicker speeds, one day, who knows? Maybe the brilliant minds out there will discover another celestial body where there's a sustainable ecosystem for humans and animals alike. That'd be insane. Okay. Would other life really look all the different from our own, considering our knowledge of how molecules and elements react greatly? I think the idea of nature is definitely a thing. Obviously, if an ecosystem on another celestial body theoretically is similar to our own, I wouldn't see why those organisms that dwell there would be much different than us. I would say it'd probably be similar if we presuppose that, they have a similar physiology and similar genetic makeup, and DNA is similar, and the idea of adaptation and the idea of evolution over centuries and millennia is the same. I wouldn't see why not. But if we theoretically propose that there's other ecosystems that are different than our own, right, where the parameters of sustainable life are different, then they probably would be different, right? Let's say that they live in a hotter temperature or a colder temperature, but they can live sustainably there. Then it's not hard to fathom that their physiology would be different. Maybe their own intellectual ability would be different. Their own laws of science, their own mathematical concepts would be different. Maybe physics is just completely different in a completely different galaxy, since we've never been able to explore a different galaxy. We only know the laws of science within our own constrained lens, right? It's pretty constrained. Yeah, we can use a telescope and observe, light years away, but it's all observational and it's very vague. It's very vague in comparison to the observations we can make in our immediate area, in our immediate radius, right? It's much more concrete and solid proof because we are literally in front of it. But if we're talking about galaxies light years away, many, many light years, there's no way we could, at least to my knowledge, deduce, the laws of physics and how everything works and things of that nature. So I wouldn't say it's out of the realm of possibility. Science is interesting. There's a lot that's still only theoretical, It's definitely, at least from what I've read. So, all right, folks, any questions you may have, feel free to ask. All great questions, whether anime or IRL or Halloween or whatever. It's greatly appreciated. All right, continuing on here. Now, this is a good question here, and I believe it's my last pre-live stream question. What is a soul? It's a very deep question that has been discussed by religious entities and scientific ones. Right, so a soul, as far as what I read from experts, right, the idea of a soul seems all theoretical. Right, clearly religious entities give their theories that they might hold holy, right, because religion is the idea that, right, we have scriptures that are meant to be holy, the answers to everything we need, right? And some people just aren't with that, especially realists. But continuing on, one of the best theories I have read was from a very famous psychologist named Jeffrey Schwartz. I believe he works at UCLA, and this was his theory, right? He theorized that your soul is beyond that of your own body, and that in fact you are an outside force that forms and shapes your own neural patterns, which is a term to refer to as neuroplasticity, right? It's what neurosurgeons used to define the idea of your neural patterns forming and being malleable, right? So Jeffrey, or I guess Dr. Schwartz, says that your soul itself is beyond your body in some way. Whether you want to take that as physical, spiritual, I don't know. But he's saying that our souls are outside forces that shape our neural patterns. And then I also read this idea of there being a dichotomy between our primal urges and our morality and our idea to rationally deduce things. So our own instincts come from our own genetic predisposition and evolutionary adaptations, while our rationalizations and mixed in morality comes from our soul. I believe that's what he was essentially saying. And it makes a lot of sense. Is it provable? No, it's not provable, but it makes a lot of sense. It explains the constant, I would say, conflict between your own morality and your own primal urges, right? The idea of drugs being an addiction. Why do we fight against it? Because we have morality and we realize that it's immoral to commit these acts, right? And it's destroying our own body in the process. So our own primal instincts urges to continue to do these drugs, right? But then our soul, I guess you could say, is what fights against that. And that's why some people get away from addiction. Some people don't. Some people let their primal urges beat them and they get the best of them, right? Which is unfortunate. So I think this theory is very well done, very well said by this psychologist. And the truth is, there is no true definition for a soul. But from what I've read, it seems most, neurosurgeons and psychologists think of a soul as something that has this aspect of selfless, what else is the word I'm looking for? Selfless and altruistic aspect about it. It's something that gives you a very unique thing that almost no other organism on Earth feels. So it's truly intriguing. And back to the God argument. The God argument is that the soul, that outside force originates from God, right? That's obviously unprovable from a logical perspective, but the psychologist gave a very good theory that stuck to me more than the other ones I've read. Do you think ancient horror movies are a depiction of something that might have happened in the past, similar to Jeffrey Dahmer one? Most likely. I definitely do not rule that out. I definitely could see, ancient history, ancient films or ancient forms of media trying to portray, these atrocities that have happened over human history. Definitely. It's definitely similar to Jeffrey Dahmer, What are the good and bad things for Earth if everybody, including animals, were immortal? How would we control overpopulation if everybody couldn't die? Essentially, there's two options. Either humans get to such a high technological advancement that they could essentially make resources infinite, or we get to a point where we find other celestial bodies where ecosystems are viable for human life. That's the only way that we would stop overpopulation, because currently resources are finite. Despite them being vast, like oil and water, they do have a limit, right? And I think it's going to take anywhere from decades to centuries to reach those limits, but they're there until there's a breakthrough, right? In energy expenditure, or in the astronomy field, where people are able to go to other planets and live viably. It's the only way to stop it, in my opinion. The only way. So, all right, folks. Any questions you may have, any at all? I believe I've answered all the pre-live stream questions. They're all great questions. All you guys are goats for asking that, so you guys definitely deserve it. Appreciate that. But continue to ask any questions you may have, folks. Any and all. Appreciate it. And make sure to hit the like button, by the way. Appreciate it. Any and all questions. Let me see if anyone's asked any new ones in the Discord. By the way, if you're not in the Discord, make sure to join it. You could ask questions there. I try to socialize with you guys there when I can, etc. It's in the description of this video, so if you would like to join that, feel free. Let's see here. Could you answer the recreational fear? Oh, that question. Let's see. Alright, so by recreational fear, do you mean like horror movies and things like that, or do you mean more so media outlets portraying COVID as a bad thing? So if you reiterate that, I could probably answer it. And anyone else, feel free to ask any questions you may have, folks. Any and all. Any and all questions. Anime, Halloween, IRL, politics, conspiracies. Seventh Gate Guy versus Prime Minato. I would say that's a good one. So Seventh Gate Guy scales to, he scales above a fatigue-based Kisame. Alright, beat his ass down. Didn't have Samehada. I would say you could kind of safely put him above Killer B. I don't know, that's a contentious one, right? Killer B fought a healthy Kisame with Samehada. You got to keep that in mind, so it's not the same. I would lean towards Minato. I think his speed feats are more impressive. Again, it's contentious. There isn't much empirically for Seven Gates Guy. But I would lean towards Minato at the top of my head, rationally. What do you think would happen to the world if Hiron brought forth his steam power ideas during the Bronze Age? I think technologically we'd be at a much more advanced place. So the way I look at it is, if advanced technology was introduced back in time, we'd be at a more advanced state, right? Because I hear things such as technology advances every 12 to 18 months to a significant degree. So I think that trend would still be the same and would be at a higher technological advancement as a society, as a human race, I guess you could say. Horror movies, people bungee jumping, seeking ghosts. Okay, so thoughts on it. The reason why people seem to gravitate towards recreational fear is humans inherently, I believe, are very, what's the word I'm looking for? They fixate on violence. They seem to be fixated by it. They seem to gravitate towards it, and I think it's an evolutionary adaptation, right? Because back in the day there was true danger when when there's tribes way back in ancient human history, human history, there was true threats all around us, right? So humanity had to evolve to prepare for that. So that made them hyper aware to it, right? And now we live in a world with first world conveniences where you could fucking go on your phone. You don't even have to go to the fucking store. Use DoorDash, fucking Uber your way around the world. There's police everywhere. There's military that protects these modern superpowers. There's no real threats out here for the most part. Obviously there's crime, but it's the chances of home invasion in any modern city are highly, highly unlikely compared to getting attacked by a tribe in 1000 BC or something like that. So I think it's an evolutionary adaptation, and that's why people today are gravitated towards the Jeffrey Dahmer documentary or Halloween or Jason or fucking Freddy. They're fixated by it. I think it's a biological thing, and another word I would look for is, I don't know, it's something that just gives people a sense of excitement, of thrill. It's like it scratches a certain itch that humans have that they can't scratch now that they don't have real threats all around them. It's the reason why anxiety is the thing, right? Why people ask, why am I anxious while I'm taking a test? It's because thousands of years ago, your ancestors had to be fucking anxious, and because you perceive this test as something that's stressful, your mind, at least the primal part of it, will correlate that to a real threat, and that's why you feel like stressed and you're fucking sweating and your palms are sweaty, you get nauseous. These evolutionary adaptations, and naturally our bodies gravitate towards it. It's very interesting, and it kind of explains why people love horror movies and fucking love crime documentaries and shit like that. It's much of the reason is because of biology. Much of it, it's very interesting. And definitely during the pandemic, which is what you asked, right? In 2021, for example, there was nothing else to do. We were cooped up. We weren't able to be human. We weren't able to socialize, which is what humans are inherently made to do. We're stuck in our homes, and we had to just do something to release, these urges, I guess you could say, in some weird way. Exactly. Horror movie consumption blew up during COVID, even during the tension of everything surrounding those 2 years. Exactly. Those evolutionary adaptations greatly explain why. What would you think be a way for the world to be at balance, from foreign countries and alliances to nature and our planet's resources? Balance. We would need to find an excellent governmental system, or maybe an excellent world alliance. An alliance that is so well done that there is optimal peace. There'll never be perfect peace. That doesn't exist in an imperfect world. And honestly, the U.S. has a great system. Obviously, there's flaws in it. There's problems in the U.S. as well. Again, it's not perfect. But, a checks of system and balances at a global level, on a global scale, would be the best way. That would be the best way to achieve balance, at least as far as, foreign policy and, states being able to live not in harmony, because harmony doesn't exist, to live in a reasonably peaceful situation. But that's extremely difficult, and the reason why that is because of conflicting ideology. Those countries have very, very differing ideology. Look at North Korea. It's a fucking dictatorship. It's a tyrannical dictatorship compared to somewhere like the U.S., where there's freedom of expression, there's freedom of speech, there's a constitution that guarantees individual freedom. In fucking North Korea, you don't have shit down there. You are a slave. You are metaphorically chained to the system known as the North Korean government and the North Korean dictatorship. There's so many conflicting interests in the world that it'd be damn near impossible to get balance. It'd have to be done by force. That would be the best way. But then again, there will always be resentment. So the world would have to go on that trajectory and be a very hard place to get to. Let's see here. Is scaling bad? I prefer on panel feats RL if I landed lucky shot at bodybuilder. Obviously don't scale to their strength, but anime culture would claim that I would. Yeah, durability, right? Durability is interesting. Saying that Naruto is solar system durability because he beat Kaguya. Or Kaguya has solar system durability because she can complete and achieve a solar system feat. It seems kind of wonky, right? Like if you fucking shoot a solar system blast at her, would she survive? She got chopped down by Kakashi. It's very wonky. You want to stay as rationally consistent, logically consistent, and valid as you can. The beauty of power scaling is that there's a lot of gray area. There's things that are concrete, like player A beat player B, hence player A is superior in most cases. Like something like that. That propositional calculus is pretty concrete and definitive. But when you get into AP, you get into durability, you compare the differences. What is durability? How do you quantify someone's durability? It's a tough thing to do. It's a tough thing to do, especially in animes where power scaling isn't emphasized. In Dragon Ball, early Dragon Ball was quite easy because Toriyama gave literal numerical values for people's power scaling levels, which was very helpful for power scalers. But something like what's a good one? Like Naruto, there's a lot of inconsistencies, man. That's why there's contentious topics like Minato possibly being able to beat Jubidar because he got in front of one of the truth-seeking orbs. No. Or Minato scaling to the Ten Tails Biju because he's able to teleport it away. No. It's interesting. There's a lot of gray area, and you just gotta kind of rip the weeds out, so to speak, whenever you're making an argument for anything. And come up with the best, most logically sound argument that you can. You know, really think about it. You can make an argument that even base Minato is faster than 7 Gates guy, especially when Kakashi mistaken for KCM to Naruto. You could, in theory, argue that. All right, but then again, which argument makes the most sense? All right, but theoretically, you could argue that, and someone that doesn't know much about Naruto would probably concede to it because they can't counter it. You know, you need a good debater would counter that, but one that's ignorant wouldn't. Let's see here. Do you think the 8 gates technique is based off chakra points in real life? If so, why are there 8 and not 7? It's a good question. I think the very fact that there's not 7 kind of indicates that it's not. Maybe it was a source of influence for Kishimoto. I definitely think he got the idea from, you know, the IRL aspect of chakra and things of that nature and chakra points. But maybe he didn't want to copy it to the T, which I don't see why that's a bad thing. But I think it's definitely a source of influence to the 8 gates in Naruto for sure. There's definitely a lot of IRL influences in Naruto. You know, the very names of, you know, these jutsu like Amaterasu or Tsukuyomi or these other names, Sakura. There's a lot of real life influences that Kishimoto extrapolated when creating this storyline, you know, this timeline that he created. So, all right, folks. Any and all questions are appreciated. Any super chats are highly appreciated. Thanks for all the super chats. Once again, you guys are goated. Appreciate that. Any questions you may have, folks, feel free. Let's see here. And apologies for not being able to have the random debate event on this pod. You know, my friend was going to come on, but he had obligations, so couldn't do it. But I will attempt to find a friend that can come consistently. If I can, we can do that. You know? Oh shit! Appreciate that, Sean. Thanks for renewing your membership. Appreciate that. It's greatly appreciated. It's goated. Let me go ahead and put that on the screen because that's goat stuff right there. By the way, folks, think of becoming a member. I'm making a private Discord that only members could join, and I also make exclusive content only for members only. So if you'd like to be in a Discord with me where I'm planning on doing some special things, you know, maybe helping you guys with your own YouTube or helping you guys become better debaters, whatever the case may be. So if you guys would like that, become a member because you'll have access to that. You know, so give me a second and I'll put this on the screen. I'll answer your question, Sean. You're a goat for that. Appreciate that. Give me a second here, folks. But yeah, folks, think about becoming a member. We have a couple members, but the more the merrier. Become a Chad today. You definitely won't regret it. So, all right, where is it at? Give me a second, folks. Here it is. All right. So, Asuma versus Kabuto Part 1. It's a good question. Let's think about this one rationally. Thank you for being such a good creator. Appreciate it, brother. Appreciate that. Alright, so answering that question, it's a good one, right? Because Kabuto, according to Orochimaru, is relative to Part 1 Kakashi. But was never really willing to face him, right? When they had that interaction one-on-one, it was kind of obvious who conceded. You know, Kakashi was willing to scrap and Kabuto conceded. You could argue rationally, well, he only did that because Orochimaru didn't want him to cause any unnecessary noise. You could argue that, but I would say part of that is because he's not confident enough to take him down or compete with him. Now, Asuma clearly scales below Kakashi, right? I mean, the very interaction they had with Itachi and the fact that they were kind of conceding to him and letting Kakashi handle it implies who was the superior one in that case. You could argue, well, it's only because he had the Sharingan, but it's pretty crystal clear that Kakashi's superior, and he was the most elite Jonin with my guy right next to him when he's not using 8 gates. Now, I would argue, breaking down arsenals, you know, Asuma is close quarters. You know, he's a close quarters guy, and that's not very, very advantageous for him against someone like Kabuto, who is a very deceptive and a very clever medical ninja. He can cut you open, manipulate your organs, tie your organs up. There's all kinds of shit he could do. So Kabuto, I would say, would have a shot against Asuma. Would he beat him? I tend to believe that Hidan probably scales above Kabuto, who Asuma was very relative to. So I would say Asuma probably would win. Probably would win. It's a very contentious one because of the fact that Orochimaru said Kabuto is relative to Kakashi. But again, I say feats triumphed over statements to some degree. So I kind of default to that, and I would say probably Asuma because of the feats that he accomplished. So that's a very contentious one, though. It's a very good battle. Very good battle to analyze. All right, folks. Any and all questions are... Let's see here. Is it more likely that Itachi is as fast as Casey and Naruto, or more likely that Casey and Naruto slowed down to match Itachi when they swapped hands? Probably the latter. No, but then I have to take that back because Itachi saved Naruto and Killer Bee from being killed by Nagato. I would say Itachi is as fast as early war Casey and Naruto. Yeah, I think so. In fact, faster, because he was able to outspeed Nagato, who was able to outspeed Naruto, arguably. So probably is faster, yeah, more than likely. Have you seen the show Primal? I believe I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. I'm not familiar with it. Whoops, sorry about that, folks. There we go. Once again, folks, make sure to hit the fucking like button. It's greatly appreciated. Gets us up in the algorithm. I know some people got frustrated with the internet problems. That's an L. That deserves a... Bruh. So I apologize for the internet issues, but I'm definitely going to figure out the source of the issue before my next stream for sure. Definitely got to figure out why that is. So... Alright, folks, any and all questions are welcomed. Casey and 2 Sage Mode Naruto, or Casey and Sage Mode Naruto versus Casey and Sage... Oh, Minato versus Casey and Sage Mode Naruto. I would lean towards Naruto because him and Sasuke were the ones leading the charge, so to speak, implying that Kishimoto was intending for them to, you know, have become the next, I guess, big dogs on the field. You know, it wasn't Hashirama, it wasn't Tobirama, it wasn't Minato, it was Naruto and Sasuke that were pressing Jubito. So probably Naruto. Again, that's speculation, but I think that's a pretty safe narrative implication to make. What do you think Itachi would do to counteract Ichibaku Tensei? Now, some possibilities are, well, maybe he could use his Yasaka beads. I think that's what it's called. His Yasaka beads, and maybe theoretically he could destroy it on his own. That might be possible. Or theoretically, he might be able to use a Tosuke blade and absorb the epicenter. As he's being sucked in, he'll absorb the epicenter of it. That's a possibility as well. I think those are two of the most probable steps that Itachi would take against the Ichibaku Tensei. I guess it's all theoretical. Neither one may not work at all. You know, maybe you can't seal something like a Chibaku Tensei epicenter. Maybe it's not impossible. You know, but the properties of the Tosuke blade are very interesting. You know, so. And the Yasaka blades, the Yasaka beads, I think is what it's called. The Yasaka beads. It's hard to determine the AP of it. He doesn't really use them. So. But those are one of the ways he would deal with it. Either that or he can't. Which you can't prove either way. Who do you believe is the most underrated female character of Naruto? Most underrated female character of Naruto. Let's see here. Maybe Tsunade? I know she's not like shat on like Sakura, but I mean Sakura's a good choice too, especially now in Boruto. I mean, it's clear how powerful she is for what she accomplished in the war arc. Maybe between those two. Sakura's more hated than Tsunade easy, but a lot of people don't realize what Tsunade was capable of either. She did pretty well against Madara. Yeah, Madara folded all the Kages like they were his kids, but compared to the other Kage, she did pretty well. Her durability was on full display. You know, her AP to some degree was impressive, I guess. So she's definitely someone to be respected. Maybe Itachi could use Izanagi to survive Chibaku Tensei. Yeah, but he only has 2 eyes, you know, so if he had to, he would. But if he has another strategy in doing so, then he would do that instead. I feel like if there was no other way, then he would have to use Izanagi, or either that or he would die. So, yeah. Alright, any and all questions, folks? IRL, Halloween, I know we're getting close to Halloween, anime, anything, any and all questions. And again, thanks for all the donations, folks. Any donations are appreciated. And think about becoming a member as well. Let's see. I don't see overinflation ever ending, so you'll think it'll lead to more battering in society. It will definitely lead to more apparent divisions in social classes. You know, inflation is an interesting term that I would like to understand more. Obviously, I'm not an economist, but I would like to understand the nature of inflation. You know, how the economy exactly works, just for the sake of learning. But I do think it'll lead to more resentment from, you know, citizens, especially lower class citizens, as far as their economic status. So yeah, it would lead to more resentment, more division, as far as on an intrinsic sense between the top 1% and the rest of, you know, the social classes. I do think that it's going to lead just to more overall detrimental effects. You know, the division of wealth is so vast. So vast. You know, the top 1% has a gargantuan amount of the worldwide wealth, you know, which is crazy to fathom. But it's the way the world works, unfortunately. But again, I'm against communism. I'm against, you know, these ideas of equalizing wealth, because that will be detrimental to productivity from humans. You know, humans are inherently hyperproductive when there's incentive. If there's no incentive, then the fuck are we doing here? You know what I'm saying? Bartering as in trading. Oh, I see what you mean. Okay. I thought it was a typo. I thought you meant bantering. Let's read that again. Trading, maybe in other, you know, with other currencies, maybe like cryptocurrency, that'll become more of a thing as cryptocurrency begins to delve into modern society more and more on a larger scale. Then yeah, I do think that will be the case. And who knows? Maybe inflation will become so rampant that people have to trade shit. Like, here, give me your tortillas. I'll give you this bag of chips or some shit. Maybe, but it'd have to get very bad for that to happen. You know, so. Yo, what's going on, Luis? How's it going? Thanks for coming in. Do you feel the Super Saiyan transformation is begging for 6 Saiyans downplayed the hard work? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, which is why a lot of people had a problem with Kefla and Cap and Kaba and all these other people. I definitely have an issue with it. I get it. They want to give Goku and Vegeta and these guys some prominent threats that are legitimate. I understand, but giving someone like Kefla or Kaba, you know, Super Saiyan already, it doesn't sit well with, you know, the Dragon Ball fandom, because the Goku and Vegeta spent decades improving themselves with their tenacity, which is, you know, the prime trait of a Saiyan. You know, that's what made us revere these guys. You know, the idea of a Saiyan and their pride. You know, so I do think it's detrimental as far as that's concerned. As far as the appeal to emotion, it's very detrimental that they just simply got Super Saiyan out of nowhere, and that they scale to fucking Super Saiyan Blue Goku, and they're basically in Super Saiyan 2. Speaking of Kefla, you know, so it's insane. It's insane. Let's see, I will trade you my couch for 3 potatoes. Exactly. Inflation would have to reach a ridiculous amount for that to happen, though. Yeah. All right, folks. Any and all questions are welcomed. And of course, any donations, of course. All of them are welcomed and appreciated as well. Thanks for all you guys once again that have donated. All right, folks. Any and all questions? See here if you guys have asked any. Let's see. Do you think Golden Frieza during the tournament could defeat Goku, Black, and Rose? The best argument you can make is the fact that by the end of the tournament, Goku and Frieza were contending against, to be fair, a fatigued Jiren. The fact that he was able to aid Goku to that degree would imply that him healthy in golden form would probably be above someone the likes of Goku, Black, and Rose. That's an argument you could make, a rational argument you can make. But you could argue for Goku, Black, and Rose as well, winning against that Frieza. If you look at it differently, if you want to really revere that Jiren was fatigued and he wasn't, near the amount of power he had when he fought Goku, when he was using Ultra Instinct. And that's fair as well, because he was very fatigued. That was damn near the end of the tournament. And he got his ass whooped by Master Ultra Instinct, so I think either side you can make an argument for. Personally, I would say it's very possible that Golden Frieza would beat him at this point during the Tournament of Power, yeah. What if Team Guy was there during the Pain Invasion, and how would this affect the story? Shit. I mean, if Guy was present, he might just open the 8 gates. He might say, fuck this shit, and kill Pain. That could be very possible. He's that would be very in character for him. He would say, my whole village is fucking destroyed. Now I'm going to destroy you with the 8 gates. That is very plausible. Very, very possible. I think he would fucking kill Pain. I think that's what would happen. And he would die that day. I think he would die, or if anything, Guy destroys the Pains. Naruto finds Nagato and he talks him out of it, and he just gets revived that way through the Rinne rebirth. But I think Guy would die that day. What if Obito went with Pain to the Hidden Leaf? Oh, shit. They would be fucked. Naruto would have lost that day. He would have been fucked. They probably just would have Kamui'd him away into the fucking Kamui dimension. Definitely. He's like, oh, well, why fight him? I'm just going to Kamui him. Let's get out of here. We don't need to destroy the village. Let's dip. That's what would happen. Obito would be like, I'm much faster than this motherfucker. I outsped his dad. Like, come on. So that's what would happen. So. Alright, continuing on. Definitely in Guy's character. Absolutely. Alright, folks. Any and all questions. IRL questions, like I always say. Controversial, anime, conspiracies, Halloween, whatever. Alright, let's see here. Let's see if you guys have any questions here. How do you grow a beard? Been using a derma roller, and I think that's definitely dependent on your genetic predisposition for it. Some guys just grow a perfect beard. Some guys can't grow shit. I would say kind of be real with yourself. If you can't really grow one at all, then I would kind of give up on it. Especially, definitely not waste money on it. You're just not genetically predisposed for it. But if you have potential, then yeah, I would invest in trying to improve it. Just really look at the science here. Cell Games Android 18 versus Captain Marvel. Let's look up where Captain Marvel scales, because that would answer the question. Captain Marvel. Obviously, Captain Marvel is a composite character, but let's stick to what this says. Let's see here. Powers and stats. So, where does she scale? She scales to only planet level? Android 18 is fucking folding. Blew up a planet. Flew through the collective. Who withstood a blow from the sentry. Higher with photonic blasts. Subrelativistic flight speed. Oh shit, yeah, she get clapped. At least this version of Captain Marvel. I know there's like cosmic power Captain Marvel where she amplifies her cosmic powers. If she gets anywhere above like galaxy level, she probably beats Android 18. So, is it a bad sign if a girl sleeps with you after the first date? She's bad as fuck by a 3-year-old daughter. Sheesh. this is the way I would look at this. So if a girl slept with me on the first date, obviously I would take that with a grain of salt, but I would study her behavior. Study her behavior, study her tendencies. If she just slept with you because she really just really fucks with you like that, and she's not a hoe, then it's not an issue. But if that's a common trend with her, if that's a commonality in her actions, then she's for the streets. She's for the streets, and you shouldn't waste your time. You know, um, and as far as having kids, if they have kids, I mean that's a big burden. My preference, at least me, this is what I do when I have kids: recreational use only. That's not my kid. I'm not raising your kid. I'm not taking care of your kid. It's not my concern. And of course, if I ever want to date a girl that has a kid, it would inevitably lead to me having to, you know, take care of the kid or meet the kid. It's not my burden to do. To me, it's more detrimental to do so. Again, that's my preference. I'm not saying everyone has to do that, but if they sleep with you on the first date, analyze their behavior, take it with a grain of salt. If you determine they're a hoe, then recreational use only or back to the streets. If they have a kid, in my opinion, I don't even mess with that. The recreational use only immediately. That's me. I mean, some people, don't mind raising someone else's kid, but not me. Okay. How the hell is Moegi able to use wood release? It's ridiculous. I agree. Moegi wood release is interesting. Yeah. What if the alumni were behind COVID and used to test how the world would react and attack it? Yeah, that's a heck of a conspiracy. There's this idea that COVID was genetically engineered, and the effects of it. There's this argument I heard that the effects of it kind of prove it. I'm trying to remember what the argument was for it. The fact that it evolved so quickly, the fact that it spread so quickly in such rapid succession. In a matter of months, it was all over the fucking world. I wouldn't rule it out, but I wouldn't say a morally righteous person did it. I would say maybe it was a mistake made on some lab in China or something like that. Something like that. I tend to believe that viruses are inherently chaotic, and they have their own nature. Viruses, their very nature is to dominate and destroy as much as they can. They have a destructive, machine-like nature. So if someone were to weaponize it, I tend to believe it would be much worse than COVID. If a brilliant mind had a lab with resources, I think they would try to create, and if they had malevolent intentions, they would create something much worse. But I don't think it's impossible that it was genetically engineered, whether it was intentional or not. So I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Best places to meet more chicks. Met this girl on Instagram and she's bad, but she has 2K followers and tons of DMs. But we met today and it was great. Social media is not a bad place to meet women, but the truth is, the farther down the social totem pole you are, the harder it's going to be. Like most guys aren't top 1%. If you're top 1%, social media is perfect because you're the top dog as far as value in the dating marketplace. But Instagram's not a bad place. You know why it's a good place? I'll tell you why. Because a girl's Instagram profile inherently tells you their nature. They have fucking their ass out, their tits out. They're shaking their ass. You could tell that they're for the streets. Because a girl that respects herself isn't going to do that. A girl that wants a guy to be around that she respects and admires is not going to do that. So on the bounce of probabilities, I'm not saying every girl. On the bounce of probabilities. So you got to rationally deduce their nature by their very profile pic. They have, their ass out and shit. They're being provocative. Not a good sign. Not a good sign. If you're in a place where you could provide and they admire you and respect you, you could change them. I'm not saying you can't. They're more malleable that way. But I would tread lightly because you don't want to make a mistake. Be cautious. Think with this. Think logically. It's easy not to think with your head sometimes when you're looking at a bad bitch. That's the way it works. A bad bitch can cloud your judgment. Women have beauty, and beauty is power to some degree. I mean, they get into fucking clubs for free. They get on billion dollar yachts. I mean, they do all kinds of shit because of their beauty. That's the power it holds. But you got to resist that as a man. You got to resist that. It doesn't make them a bad person. That's just the power they have, right? The way guys get values, financial freedom, getting in shape, getting confidence, etc. but we have to earn that. Girls are at 18 to get the power. You know what I'm saying? So take it very carefully. That's the way at least I do it. So, what's stronger, 8th Gate Guides, Sekizo, or Kaguya's vacuum fists? I think anything Kaguya does with even a remote amount of effort is vastly superior to anything 8th Gate Guy can output. I think it's rationally safe to say as well. What if 9/11 never happened? The world would be a greatly different place, or specifically the United States. There's something called the 9/11 effect. And what that essentially did is it vastly altered foreign policy. Before 9/11, there was open borders damn near. You could literally fucking walk to, Mexico and back. No repercussions, no restrictions. But 9/11 was so detrimental, such an impactful event, such a horrible atrocity that the U.S. took a look at itself in the mirror and said, we got to protect the borders. We got to protect, what we have here, what we have to offer. So it forced an alteration in foreign policy. It forced security and order, law and order as far as foreign policy. And if that never would have happened, and nothing ever like that did happen up until now, we'd still have a similar policy now. I think it'd be very similar, very similar. And I think the political spectrum would be much different as well. The political spectrum in its entirety would be different. Everything would be considerably more liberal. Why? Because there's no past events in U.S. history that imply this kind of danger. It would be greatly different. You could probably, if that were the case, people could probably walk to and from Mexico the same day in a matter of minutes. That's how easy it would be, which is the way it used to be pre 9/11. But unfortunately, there are malevolent entities in the world, and the U.S. had to adjust to that reality. So it is what it is. The asteroid that hit Earth destroyed the dinosaurs and many resources in the vicinity, but yet many species survive. How? It's a good question. I would say some species are just inherently more resistant, like the cockroaches. Those motherfuckers can survive nuclear explosions, probably. They're just so vast. There's so many of them, and they're all over the planet. So I think adaptability is a big reason why. And obviously, the specific ecosystems these species live in greatly alters that as well. Dinosaurs are all like basically on land, and that was a perfect formula for extinction for many of the dinosaurs, all of them basically. But then you have cockroaches, you have ants, so you have organisms in the oceans that can live deep down in the ocean. Their chances of survival are much, much, much higher. Their evolutionary adaptations are just equipped for this kind of event. It's very interesting, actually. Dinosaurs are gone, but we have cockroaches still roaming the earth. So it goes to show you the toughness of some of these species. Best way to not get attached? Honestly, the harsh truth is you got to become cutthroat, man. You can't put too much effort in if it's not being reciprocated, man. You can't put all these emotions in. You can't care whether she texts you back right away if you just met her and it's been a week. You can't give a fuck about that. You got to be stoic, right? You can't turn off emotions. That's not possible. But you can be stoic. You can work on your emotions. And you got to be the bigger man, so to speak, in a lot of these issues. What I don't like to see is guys complaining that a girl doesn't like them. I'm like, bro, you're 19, you're broke, you're not in shape, you don't have shit going for you, and you're mad that she doesn't want you. You're not there yet. You're not there yet. She doesn't fucking want you. You're not there yet as a man yet. That's not her fault. You have work to do. So be real with yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror and be honest. Don't lie to yourself. Most young guys have a lot of work to do. We all do. And a girl's not going to want you over fucking Drake or over a guy that makes 6 figures that has a new Mustang or some shit. That's just reality, man. That's the way the world works. So you got to practice stoicism to answer that question shortly. What if you got this other girl, but she puts effort in? If she puts effort in, she's loyal, continue to pursue it. But again, always approach cautiously, because a A great man can be destroyed by the wrong woman. So, Goku and Beerus clashing fists in the manga did not destroy any planet. In the anime, it did. Can you see the manga to debunk the anime? That's a good question. Now, there's always differences, right? Because of there's restrictions of manga in comparison to restrictions of anime, right? The fact that manga is two-dimensional and anime is perceived to be three-dimensional. At least it seems more three-dimensional to some degree. I mean, that's an obvious difference, right? That's an obvious difference that has to be pointed out. And the best way to avoid debunks is to make sure that you presuppose what you're exactly talking about here. Like Naruto, for example. A good one is Momoshiki versus Delta. In the anime, Delta gets fucking folded. In the manga, Delta beats Momoshiki empirically. Make sure you presuppose what you're exactly discussing in a debate setting. Don't go in blindly, because someone will catch you slipping with these inconsistencies. So make sure you know. Make sure. We got a crash in the last week. That's too bad. Got a new with 3 wheels and putting it out bills. Hey, it's good, man. Just stay consistent. Tell every guy that I've had guys message me besides things that aren't for anime, just for advice. Persistence is the key. It doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter what you're feeling like that day. Persistence is key. You want to be a good debater. Persistence is key. You want to be in shape. Persistence is key. Discipline. Motivation comes and goes. It's not about motivation. It's about discipline. Keep that in mind. How do I fit gym time with working 60-hour a week? You gotta sacrifice some other things, unfortunately. You might have to sacrifice having fun or going with a chick or going with your friends to put the work in. As simple as that. There's always time. If there's a will, there's a way. So the Sasuke should be able to surpass anything Sasuke and Naruto can achieve if they train and push themselves, right? I would kind of look at the very Otsutsuki we're talking about here, because theoretically Momoshiki can absorb infinite chakra, which he stated when he was absorbing like all the ninjutsu. So essentially he doesn't need to train. But someone like the Otsutsuki, if they were to train, it would kind of be pointless, right? Because they can just absorb it. And that's why I don't really like the Otsutsuki. The idea of hard work and dedication just goes out the window with them, because they could just absorb your shit. So could they? Maybe they could. Theoretically, unless their physiology is different from that of a shinobi, then they can't, which I'm not sure about. From my knowledge, they don't train anyway. They just roam the shinobi world, shitting on everybody because they're just that superior. Because there is no need for it, But I guess they could theoretically. I don't see why not, unless Kishimoto states otherwise. Have you seen any species evolve in the past 100 years? One that has evolved a lot is dogs, domesticated animals. Why? Because humans have a direct interest in the evolution, right? Cattle, cattle has evolved. Dogs have evolved. It makes perfect sense. Certain animals that we've domesticated or tried to have evolved. Why? Because humans have a direct interest in the evolution. If evolution happens naturally, it takes more time. The environment is what shapes these species, right? Like humans, for example, or wolves or bears or whatever the case may be, depending on their ecosystems. So I would say, yeah, dogs are greatly evolved in a very fast amount of time. Very, very, very fast. Why is it so difficult being only friends with a certified baddie? This is the truth about that. The real truth is, bad bitches are magnets, right? Clearly. They hold this kind of value in the dating marketplace that is undeniable. And guys inherently want to reproduce. So they're friends with a bad bitch, you're more than likely you're going to fall for them in some way, in some fashion. And if she friend zones you, in my opinion, you shouldn't be friends with them at all. I honestly don't see the point of being friends with a girl if that you're not heading in that trajectory. That's my opinion. It's my preference. I mean, hey, it's nothing. Not that girls are bad people, but I just don't see the point. Girls get way more from being friends with guys and vice versa. Guys are the ones that are supposed to be chivalrous. Guys are the ones that are supposed to pay for the date, whether they're dating or not. Guys are the ones that are supposed to be gentlemen, etc. Traditionalism is dead, essentially. So act accordingly. I'm not going to be a gentleman and act cordially to a girl that's my friend and is getting her back blown out by another man. No, I'm sorry. That's just me. That's just me. Might sound cruel, but saves me money, saves me effort, saves me time. That's the way I look at it. Honestly. Sounds cruel, sounds fucked up, but hey, the world's a fucked up place. Women want guys with the tallest, strongest, most powerful man they can get. I don't think that's a bad thing, so it is what it is. It is what it is. Right, good. I'm sure salmon have evolved. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Fish are a great one. Yep. What if Bardock survived the destruction of the planet Vegeta and found Goku when he was facing the Red Ribbon Army? Oof, that would be... I think Goku's evolution would be much different. You could argue that his development would be faster because he would embrace his Saiyan biology. Because Bardock is the epitome of a Saiyan, a warrior. He has that ferociousness, that tenacity. I think he would evolve faster, honestly, and be more primal. And I think Goku's personality would be different. I don't think he'd be as chivalrous. He'd be more similar to Vegeta, to be honest with you. It would greatly change who he is as a person, not just his power level, but him as a person. The baby versus Goku. The baby. Climate change prompts evolution, absolutely. Oh yeah, it greatly aids in the evolutionary process, no doubt about it. Did you hear about the joint album of Drake and 21 Savage coming out October 28th? I have not, but anything Drake drops, I'm all ears. 21 Savage isn't bad, but Drake is he's the GOAT. So, thoughts on rock metal music? Me personally, my taste is actually pretty wide. Besides like the weird shit that's out there, like screamo and shit, I don't listen to that, obviously. But there's some decent rock music out there that I am a fan of. I can't give you a song off the top of my head, but there's a few that I listen to from time to time. Nurture versus nature. Nature, you can't fight, right? Your genetic predisposition to be short, to be tall, to be more husky or more skinny. You can't fight that part, but you can fight the final product. That's where nurture comes in. If you eat like a fat ass, you're going to be a fat fuck. If you don't work hard, you're going to be broke. So nurture is extremely important. It should be more emphasized. A lot of people kind of just concede to the fact that, oh man, I'm just dumb, I'm broke, I'm short. No, man. Nurture yourself. Get to work. That's an excuse. And in this world, especially in the modern world, there's always room for improvement. We live in the land of opportunity, at least in the modern world for the most part. Jay, you're cutthroat low. I love the truth about man, bad bitches are just magnets. Yeah, like I said. And the truth is, women are inherently selfish. It doesn't mean they're bad people. It doesn't mean they're morally dark people. That's just their biological tendency. Why? Because they can only bring one baby to term per year. So biologically, they want the most powerful, dominant, tall, strong man they can get. And there's nothing wrong with that. They have every right to do that. But men have every right to be cutthroat too. Why am I going to provide for you if you're going to the club and being provocative towards other men, which to them is an indication that you want to get your back blown out? I don't understand that. But I'm going to provide for you. I don't think so. Or you're showing your ass on fucking Instagram while I'm working my ass off, giving you the lifestyle you want. I don't think so. It's not a one-way street. But to a lot of women, it is. They think that they're the prize, that even being in their presence is enough for them to get what they want. Nah, man, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way, man. I'm sorry. It shouldn't work that way. Traditionalism needs to come back. If a woman wants to be a boss bitch, cool, go ahead. But as far as I'm concerned, you're single. You know what I'm saying? So, are we really what we surround ourselves with, or how we were raised? Yes. How we're raised, that can be changed. You can't control who you're raised by. If you have a shit parent, it is what it is. You're going to have a harder time than the next guy that has parents, good parents. But who you're with as an adult, when you're a sentient being who's able to, go through life and make your own choices, yes, it definitely shapes you. If you're around fucking losers that party all day, you're going to be one. Or more than likely, you're going to be one. If you have negative people talking shit about the world and making excuses, that's going to rub off on you, and that's going to change your mentality. Right? But if you're around guys that get their shit together, they're a bit ambitious, they have good heads on their shoulders, then that's going to rub off on you, and you're going to become that as well. As simple as that. So definitely is the case. That definitely is the case. Raditz personality makes no sense, not because of Dragon Ball minus. Raditz is a funny character. Okay. What kind of girls are worth going in raw? What's you need some more protection? Okay, I see what you mean with that question. Do not go in raw until one, you're financially stable. Two, your value is pretty high. You know, maybe you don't have to be high value, but definitely financially stable, financially free, independent. Got your own car, got your own crib. You know you have more than enough to provide for a child if that's the case. And the girl is not a hoe. There's no red flags. She's been loyal for a considerable amount of time. I'm talking not just a couple weeks. I'm talking about years, or at least 12 months, etc. Once all that's in place, then you can go in raw. Then you can start taking risks, right? If all those checks aren't checked off, you're taking a risk with your life, man. Your life will be over for the next 18 years if you're with the wrong bitch or you're in the wrong situation. It's simple as that. That's how calculated you have to be. If you want to be great. If you want to be an average Joe, go ahead. There's nothing wrong with being average. But, yeah. Should a man ever be ashamed for turning his back on family members if they don't encourage him to help him reach his goals, even if they helped him, but are very negative? No, I don't think so. Jordan Peterson said it best. Your family, at least the adults in your life when you're a child, they eventually become your peers. Makes perfect sense, right? You get your own place, your own crib, your own car, your own bills are being paid. They are now your peers. Obviously respect them. Don't treat them like your friends. But in a way, they are your peers. They don't dictate what you eat. They don't dictate when the internet's turned off. They don't dictate when the lights are turned off. They don't dictate your bedtime, etc. They're your peers at this point. So if you have to kick them out of your life because they're simply being negative and toxic in some way, it is what it is. Whether it's family, siblings, uncles, aunts, grandmas, grandpas, you have every right to do so. Because at that point, you're not keeping them around isn't helping you or them. It doesn't help either side. You're allowing someone to spew this bullshit towards you, and you're allowing yourself to be affected by it. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing. So do what you have to do. What ideologies from Naruto did you revere the most? Naruto, I mean, it's hard not to go with Naruto himself, right? The idea of hard work and dedication, the idea of reaching the mountain peak at all costs, even if it costs you your very sanity. I really revere that ideology. I think every man should try and instill that in their own life. The idea of always having a chip on your shoulder, the idea of doing what's right every day, despite how you feel or despite the odds. That's what Naruto was. That's what he represented. And he got what he deserved. He made it to the mountain peak. Or someone like Kakashi with the idea of being loyal at all times, even if it means breaking the rules. I admire that as well. That's kind of the idea of brotherhood. Even if the rules say, "Oh, this, you shouldn't be doing this because this guy's doing this," it's good to be a loyal person. How's Bleach coming along for you? You know what I mean? As far I've heard, I need to finish Bleach. I'm gonna say this, like I says right here, Aizen is cold, man. I just saw when recently Grimjow was walking away from a meeting the Espada were having in their run cars, and then Aizen says, "Sit your ass down," and then Grimjow, sweating and shit, was like, "What?" And then Aizen simply flexed his spiritual pressure, and Grimjow was shitting himself. Aizen is cold. Aizen is cold. And Grimjow fucked up Ichigo previously. And Ichigo stalemated Kenpachi back in, when he first went to the Soul Society. That goes to show you Aizen's prowess, man. He's a fucking dog. He's cold. And even personality-wise, character-wise, he is a cold-ass character. Cold as ice. He's calculated. He's deceptive. He's stoic. It's pretty cool. I like Aizen a lot. He might be my favorite character right now. And the anime's coming along as well. I'm enjoying the revealment of the Espada and the Arankars, and the development of Ichigo. I'm enjoying it. It's getting good. So, all right, folks. Any and all questions? Any and all, even IRL questions? IRL, anime, you name it. By the way, make sure to hit the like button once again if you haven't already. All right, let's see here. Did you see the Naruto fight? Not yet. I want to see Kenpachi in action again. Kenpachi's one of my favorite captains. Possibly my favorite. You know, the good guys. Obviously, I like Aizen a little more, but the good guys. Any and all questions, folks, are appreciated. Five favorite anime villains. Oh, in its entirety? Madara's up there. Light. Who else? He's off the top of my head. Who is it? What's his name? I guess the Beast Titan from Attack on Titan is cold. I guess cold. Maybe Aizen might be up there now, to be honest. To be honest. He's really capturing my attention. He piqued my interest. And then who else would be up there? That's a good question. So those four and maybe Pain. Pain was very polarizing in the Pain arc. Especially the first time I ever seen it. It was amazing. Maybe Pain. Which combo is best? Rage and physical gifts or experience and years of training? If I'm in an anime sense, then rage and physical gifts. But in the real world, I would lean towards, let's see. I mean, rage and physical gifts is a good one. Rage is a good motivator. I'll tell you that. Boo is one of my favorites. Oh, I forgot about Boo. That's another really good one. Frieza. Maybe I'll replace Pain with Frieza or something. Or experience and years of training. I think long term, experience and years of training because you hone your skills. Short term, rage and physical gifts because it's quick succession. But with experience and years of training, you gain wisdom. You start to learn the ways of the trade, whatever the trade is, so to speak. But obviously, all of them together is the best, clearly. So. All right, folks. Any and all questions are welcomed. Once again, thanks for all the donations, folks. You guys are goats for that. All donations are appreciated. Is Chainsaw Man worth watching? From what I've heard, yeah, it is. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard only hype about it. Very high praise. So yeah, I would say it is. I'm pretty sure it's gonna stay that way for me after I see it. Is a glass of Pepsi Zero fine to drink? I mean, one glass isn't bad, but the better the diet, the better, right, for you. If your goal is to be in shape, you know what I'm saying? So, Latinas or black girls? Oh shit, it's pretty controversial. But my own personal preference. Empirically, I've been more Latinas, but it's a tough one. It's a toss-up. I guess I slightly preference Latinas, Colombians specifically, but even Colombians, some of them are darker skin, so I'm kind of in the middle, but slightly towards Latina, I guess. Which mangas and anime are you currently watching, reading? Dragon Ball Super, Boruto, Bleach. And I believe that's all for now. I'm going to start Jujutsu Kaisen as soon as I make a dent in Bleach. So. What's more of it? Am I freezing? Give me a second. I see myself freezing. I think we're good. Which is more badass, a Werin or a werewolf? Wervin, excuse me. I'm not sure I'm familiar with a Wervin. Let's look that up. See. Oh, this seemed to be like some kind of dragon. Dragons are really cool, so I'll say dragons. By the way, folks, so you guys have joined, I'm making a private Discord server for members only. I'll probably, be talking much more there. Maybe get advice on debates, advice on anything you guys ask and stuff like that on a more regular fashion. So if you guys want that access to that Discord, become a member today. I just gotta finish creating the Discord. I want it to be a certain way, so it'll be a place where iron sharpens iron, I guess you could say. So I'm still creating it. What do you prefer, a girl with tattoos or a girl with a clean look? I would say a clean look, because tattoos imply experience, and experience usually indicates hoish behavior. What were your parents' thoughts of the last girl you brought home? And these days, I don't have much of a say, but they liked her. I was smart enough to make sure that was the case. Have you ever read a Chinese cultivation novel? How was it? I don't think I have, but I'm familiar with Chinese ideas. They seem very influential. Very, very influential. Have you ever spoke to your friends or family on red pill knowledge? I have. Friends all the time. Trying to not convert them, not that they disagree with what I say, but trying to open their eyes to reality. Family, and especially the older folks in my family, they're more old school. They stick to traditionalism, but I always say, listen, we don't live in a traditionalist world anymore. There are thoughts all around the streets. You guys don't realize that because you guys lived in 1970. You know what I'm saying? So after weightlifting, should I do abs or treadmill? Not trying to lose muscle, but I want to get a V shape. Definitely do abs if you want a V shape. I would, if you want definition, more reps is the key. And as far as treadmill, I would keep it limited. A good 10-20 minutes is good, just solid pace. That doesn't make you lose muscle. If once you start getting into like 60 minutes plus of like intense running, then yeah, that will burn muscle. So keep it short duration, decent intensity. That's usually the formula. All right, folks, about 15 more minutes. Unless someone donates a nice donation, I'll stay longer. But any and all questions are welcomed. And I will try my best to get a friend on so we can do that random debate event. That should be interesting. Just debate anything you guys ask. When you guys super chat and you ask, and we'll pick who debates what at random, and it'll be very interesting. Which power do you think is superior? The more physical kind, like Dragon Ball, or magic? I think physical power and the balance of probabilities usually works in most realities. Magic is kind of conditional, right? It's kind of a conditional thing. Magic is more abstract. And the idea of magic, there's more aspects around it. So I'd say physical power, like Dragon Ball. Yeah. Because in theory, Genjutsu is kind of like magic, right? Please do the live Discord on your guest calls. I plan on actually switching up the call-out shows to a different way, not using Discord, because everyone's watching it through there. I'd rather than watch it here. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, the call-out shows. Next one should be in the foreseeable future. Boruto Konohamaru versus Kakashi Elder Shippuden. That's a good one. That's a really good one because Konohamaru scaled to Jugo to some degree. I would argue slightly. I would argue inferior to Jugo. Early Kakashi, probably. Well, it's contentious whether he would scale to Jugo. I would argue maybe not, because even heavy Sasuke had to try a little bit to deal with him. I would lean towards Konohamaru, actually. I think empirically there's more for him. I like the live stream regardless. Appreciate that, brother. What if non-canon Naruto was canon? Shit, fuck. Well, if non-canon Naruto is canon, there's some crazy things that take place that are non-canon that would imply some people are stronger than others. I'm not gonna lie. I've really never seen that many fillers. Well, if we consider the novels non-canon, which one of the writers of the novel said it wasn't canon, then Boruto would be, excuse me, Kakashi era Boruto would be stronger than fucking War Kakashi, and possibly even DMS Kakashi. There's all kinds of things that would happen, or would be true, I guess you could say. All right, folks. Any and all questions are welcomed. Ah, oh, fuck. Alright, let me remove that. What form of Frieza would be enough to defeat Kaguya? Let's see. Probably we'd have to be talking about Frieza past the Cell arc. So Battle of Gods Frieza would, excuse me, Resurrection of Frieza would fucking obliterate him, obliterate fucking Kaguya. Probably around that time when he wasn't really training. Though when he trains is when he makes leaps and bounds. Safe to say that anything past Resurrection of Frieza would body Kaguya. Any version of him beyond that, would fucking body her, destroy her. How could you change the Naruto story if you could? Kaguya wouldn't be the final villain. It would be Madara. Madara would be the final villain. And it would be an amazing climactic event. And Kaguya would be introduced in Boruto, which would be much better. Her lackluster introduction to me was unfortunate. I mean, like Namek Saga. Oh, and then I don't think any version would beat her. Even Final Form Frieza. I don't think he was solar system level at that point. You know, because keep in mind that Cell is solar system level, which is, you know, much stronger than anyone during the Namek Saga. I don't think any version could. If we presuppose she's solar system level. If we presuppose she's simply large planet level, then Frieza at Final Form probably could beat her, or if not compete with her at the very least. Give me a second, folks. If the Hyuga clan is so much more powerful than the Uchiha clan, then why aren't any of them considered to be used in teams to take down threats like Sasuke or Itachi? Good question. I think Kishimoto meant to paint this picture, but really didn't paint a picture as far as with feats are concerned. Right? If the Hyuga clan are, you know, on that level, then why weren't they more relevant? You know, there's a lot of things I think he took back, like the fact that Hiruzen was the strongest Hokage. That shit wasn't true by the end of Shippuden. A lot of retcons, I'd say. That probably explains it. I was going to say if Kaguya is large star level. Yeah, if she's large star level, there's a good chance that there is no version of Frieza that beats her. Possibly, maybe Final Form Frieza, power level of 150 million, 120 million, excuse me, 120 million, might beat her, right? Because if we think about it, Saiyan Saga Vegeta was planet level. His Gallic gun was enough to destroy the Earth. And we're talking about much, much, much more powerful by thousands of times. So maybe that version would. Frieza would, yeah. What if reanimated Minato never lost his arms during the Madara fight? I mean, he'd still be useless in comparison to, you know, Jubito and Madara. He's nothing you could do. What if Neji was an Uchiha? That's an interesting question. His life would be much different. And if anything, he'd be dead because Itachi would have killed him because he didn't care for him. He only cared for Itachi. Excuse me, for Sasuke. I'm sure he would have killed him, or Obito would have killed him during the Uchiha massacre. It's crazy how our sun can fit 1 million Earths inside of it. The sun is preposterously large. Preposterously. We can never even imagine the scale. You know, we can simply only quantify the difference. There's no way to perceive it. Unless one day we could theoretically travel there without melting. So. All right, folks, about 5 more minutes unless someone donates. Again, all donations are greatly appreciated. You guys are all goats for it. I appreciate it. All right, folks. Let's see if there are any other questions here. What if Naruto never found his ninja way? He probably would have became evil. He was kind of leaning that way already at the beginning of Naruto. He was on the tipping point, and Iruka, caring about him was what really saved him. So I would say if he never found his ninja way, he probably would have went rogue, and Itachi probably would have caught him and killed him. It would not have ended well. Thank you again for the stream. Of course, folks. Thank you guys for all the donations as well. You guys are goats. Appreciate that. And for all the support as well. Let's see here. How far would Master Chief last in part where Naruto? He has ridiculous reaction and strength feats. Let's see. What does he scale? I'm not familiar with Halo that much. Chief versus Wiki. Let's see. Where does he scale? There's several versions, huh? Okay. Multi-city block level. Oh man, he wouldn't get past Shippuden or part 1. Let's look at these other versions of him. I'm not familiar with this, but let's see. This is called Mjolnir Gen 3. Okay. He doesn't scale that high. He'd be lucky to beat end of Naruto. End of part 1 Naruto. Selena Gomez or Zendaya? Zendaya has a prettier face. Probably Zendaya. Yeah, probably lean towards her. Let's see. Alright, folks, any and all questions are welcomed, as always. Warwick I, 4th Hokage versus the Diva Path. I don't know how you would deal with Diva Path's hacks, especially at Diva Path at its strongest. I know the speed is something, but if the gap isn't so vast in speed to where the Diva Path can get off the Ichibaku Tensei, A's fucked. He's gonna get crushed. I would say probably the Diva Path. Keep in mind he was able to fight Stage 1 Naruto. I mean, the Warlock Stage 1 Naruto is stronger clearly, but reaction times were enough to take on the 3rd Rate Kage fairly easily. So, Smash Dumper Mary, Zendaya, Shakira, or Sydney Sweeney. I forgot how Sydney Sweeney looks like. Let me see what she looks like. Sydney Sweeney. Oh, this chick. Oh, that chick from Euphoria. I forgot. Sydney Sweeney. I'm not gonna lie, she's bad. Mary Sydney. Smash and die and dumps Sakura. She's too old, probably. Jeans or sweatpants? I mean, for comfort, sweatpants, but to go out, jeans, I guess, more fashionable on average. Alright, folks, a couple more questions. I shall depart after. And I'll make sure to fix these annoying ass internet issues as well. It's very, very annoying. Figure out the source of it. And one more time, make sure to hit that like button if you haven't already, that is. A couple more questions. Unless someone donates, then I'll stay longer, of course. Let's see. Any final questions, folks? What if Izuna was resurrected? That would be interesting. Clearly, he'd be much weaker than Madara or Hashirama. But I guess it could be useful against Togurama. But I would argue Togurama got stronger since, you know, after he killed Izuna, he probably got stronger after that point. It'd be somewhat useful, I guess. Not too useful. What if Fugaku Uchiha was the 4th Hokage? The segregation of the Uchiha would have ended. There'd be no Uchiha massacre, and Danzo would probably be imprisoned. So. What if the 3rd Hokage killed Orochimaru during part 1? Shit, the story would have greatly been altered. Sasuke would have never left the village. Kabuto would have never learned how to do the reanimation jutsu, at least to the efficiency that he did. Shit, I mean, everything would change. There might never be a war arc. I don't know. Everything would change. Do you think he would try to talk Madara away from his plan? That's actually, I didn't even think of that. That's possible. You know, Izuna might say, "This is crazy, man. Just not the way to go. Just take over the world instead." Maybe, but then Zetsu would have a problem with that. He could change Madara's mind. He'd be one of the guys that could. One of the only ones that could. Maybe the only guy. Because not even Hashirama could change his mind at that point. Favorite Itachi quote? I think favorite one I've heard is he says something along the lines of we're all restricted by our own subjective lens and knowledge. And that one man's illusion can be another man's reality. I think that's a pretty good quote. He's basically saying that we should be humble and we should acknowledge our own limitations and subjective nature and continue to improve, which is right. So, all right. Do you think Fugaku and Minato could defeat Obito together? Yes. Yeah. Depends on Obito. White mask, no. They're getting their ass whooped. If it's orange mask, yeah. Orange mask, or before, Minato might be able to beat him himself. It would have been Fugaku. It'd be contentious, but yeah. Alright, folks. I think that's going to wrap it up, unless someone donates before I depart. Just want to say thanks for all the support, folks. All the donations are greatly appreciated. I'm currently, obviously, heavily engulfed in obligations as far as like college and all that. But I'm working on a original video. It's Dragon Ball based. I'm working on it. I want to get it done in the next couple weeks if I can. Obviously, the original videos are more few and far between when I'm busy. In the future, I think soon I'm going to try to invest in an editor, probably in the future, so I can really bring more original content out in a more timely manner, you know, because I want to start bringing more original content. Streams will always continue because it's goated. You know, this is a goated idea, and the interactions are goated as well. But soon I will probably invest in an editor. But right now I do it all on my own. And I'm going to try to bring the Dragon Ball video in the next couple weeks. The scripting is basically done. And yeah, so stay in the lookout for that. Reactions going to keep coming. There'll be some changes soon as far as that's concerned, as far as the channel, which I'll let you know on when I reach a certain milestone. And yeah, folks, make sure you hit the like button, hit the sub button. Thanks again for all the support, and I'll catch you in the next one, folks. Peace.